and share the conversation of a lifetime at StoryCorpsConnect.org/AARP. Connect, honor, share. StoryCorps Connect. A message from AARP, StoryCorps, and the Ad Council.
Gary Sharp, Nick Handley, and Jimmy Chavez. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Weekdays 6 to 10. On 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com.
Hey, good morning. Morning from Sharp and Handley, 1620thezone.com. It's Nick, it's Jimmy, and Joe. It's the other Maverick basketball guy. That's right.
I was just thrilled that he had to get out and drive this morning. Of all the days to fill in, You're like, yeah, I'll fill in. Then you see the forecast, and you're like, that Sharp was on to something.
He did well, man. He did well, yes. Gary is
he went
traveling.
north, so not much better.
He went to Hoff.
Typically when you make your way up north on January 19th, I'm going to say your chances of having better weather in Nebraska than in South Dakota or North Dakota is probably pretty good. But I don't know. I don't know what our folks up north are getting.
Tauntaun.
I know the north central, northwestern Nebraska, northeastern Nebraska, that is, area.
Ooh, they got hammered.
Yeah, they didn't do as well as we did.
They're closed till April.
It might be.
By the way, all hail the Dome and the dry slot. We love you.
Yeah, it wasn't as bad as it could have been. By the way, good morning to all of our very, very trusty city workers that are doing a hell of a job in getting the snow plows out. Because that is the one thing that I noticed when I was doing the commute in, is it was me, a smattering of some cars, but the majority was a lot of lights, a lot of plows, and the main roads I thought were fine. The neighborhoods,
not so great.
No, not really. And then this little sort of like, oh, you guys thought you got off lucky yesterday. Well, here's a little band coming through this morning just to F with your morning drive.
I will tell you, these basketball trips to the north in January, February, when we go to South Dakota, North Dakota, it's a little bit like going north of the wall in Game of Thrones. It's just this vast expanse of snow.
Yeah.
And you're expecting to see White Walkers coming out across the plain in the bus. It's a little frightening.
It's like, what am I getting myself into? How long am I here for? But yes,
forever. Too long.
So Gary's making his way up to there. Are they at USD tonight or SDS?
SDSU tonight.
Okay, so South Dakota State tonight.
Bunnies tonight.
Brookings, and then then Vermilion. But Gary will be with us tomorrow remotely, but traveling today. Good morning to the Nebraska men and women's basketball teams with some big victories last night on what was maybe one of the easy thing
just
to do.
Say what you're feeling.
The first half was like the weather. It was sloppy, slushy, gross. At the time that we were getting the sloppy, slushy, gross
I
stuff.
actually watched it.
Yeah,
it was a big deal. I was like, all right, I'm going to sit down and watch Nebraska ball. I'll be honest, happy for Fred, but that's 2 hours of my life I'd like to get back.
Well, I would say at least the first
I feel
hour.
Sorry for anybody who sat through that first half.
Yeah, give me the first hour back because that was not good.
I was watching that. I was like, this is why I prefer the NBA.
It was, but then, hey, picked up in the second half. There's a stat, by the way, that might have something to do with Gary's booty, which you have a chance to win coming up in hour number 2. We'll give you a stat today. But the second half picked up. It did. And Nebraska winning last night, despite efforts to make that thing excruciating down the stretch in the final minute, because I think they're up, 4? Were they up as many as 6?
Yes, they did build a 6-point lead.
With a minute 15 to go. And I think it's whittled down to 4, but you're still thinking, okay, this looks okay. Ohio State, credit them. They hit a couple of shots, and it's a 3-point game, and you're like, oh, gosh. And that look right at the very end, I mean, rattles in and out. I mean, we were very, very close to seeing that thing go to overtime. And, from that standpoint, I don't really know who would have had the advantage because Sandoval had fouled out for Ohio State after he got off to a cold start. He was the Sandoval that we've seen for Ohio State, but also you had no Derek Walker. So if you go to overtime, I don't really know who has the upper hand there. But last night, even though they weren't the biggest contributors of the game, there was that stretch where Nebraska is essentially holding Ohio State at bay there between like the 12-minute and 6-minute mark.
Like 5 minutes without a field goal.
Yeah. And you know what the enjoyable thing to see was? Minutes from the bench, guys that were doing some good things. You had a huge three-pointer by Jamarcus Lawrence off the bench. That was nice to see. Hell, even Oleg Kolymitz gave you a field goal. Yeah, 7-foot Oleg Kolymitz. I don't know how many minutes he is typically playing. Last night he got 5, and for a game that started where Nebraska started off small, which I said, hey, you know what? I think you should start big. I was wrong with that. Nebraska decided to start not only Dedham Dawson, but also my favorite dude, Aga. Who? Hey, give him credit.
He hit some shots in the second half.
Hit some shots. He did miss his first free throw of the season. But, hit some shots.
Yeah, in a critical moment.
Yeah, it was. No. It was only a matter of time. But what did he make? 22 in a row? 23 in a row before he missed his first one? So That's not too bad. Given the free throw woes that Nebraska's had, it's not on Keisei Tominaga. But, so you start with Tominaga, you start with Griesel, Dawson, Banamel. So Derek Walker, obviously, your forward, while you've got kind of a bigger lineup for Ohio State. But in that stretch, between Brian Bach, who you knew would get some minutes, but just seeing Kolymitz in there, CJ Wilshire coming off the bench, it was kind of typical CJ Wilshire where he was a little bit erratic, but knocked down a couple of shots. But in that stretch between Lawrence, Kolymitz and even Wilshire, giving you some positives in that stretch that kind of kept Ohio State from either tying or taking the lead, where Nebraska, not Ohio State, down that final 2-minute stretch was having to play catch up. If Nebraska's having to play catch up, I'm sorry, I just don't like that. The way that this team was able to, in the first half, and how they shoot pretty much every night. So props to the bench. Wasn't always pretty, but they gave you some quality minutes, which if you're Fred, if you're looking for something with this team, and I'm not trying to say that, Oleg is a guy that you can rely on night in and night out. Hell, he's 7 feet tall, though. It's not a bad thing to have. But, if you can get a guy or two like Jamarcus Lawrence has been playing better, Dedham Dawson they had a much better second half than the first half. You're starting to see some guys trying to work around Juwan Gary's injury. That was the big question, because last night you knew you'd have a healthy Sam Griesel. So it's like, okay, this is what you're kind of going to be looking at from here on out until Juwan Gary will return, if he ever does. So if you kind of get an idea of how Fred was able to use that bench, it's not going to be the same every night. Again, props to some of those guys.
Well, those couple of finishes by Dedham Dawson in the second half, those acrobatic drives to the rim, that was impressive. If he can keep playing like that and giving you some of those, I don't know what you'd call it, like morale booster finishes, because that gets the bench up off their seat. That gets everybody in the arena jumping up and down. When he can go acrobatic like that and finish around the rim, if he can just give you that, that's huge. I mean, those are energizers. When a guy goes, hand switch in the air, Dr. J style off the glass, like that can be good. But I think that the thing that really stood out to me last night was how different it is when Derek Walker's out of the game.
Yeah,
like when he gets the ball in the post, you can feel the confidence. Like he's going to do something with that ball, whether he's going to make a great pass, he's going to make a move and take it to the rack. He might not make it, but he's going to get a look. When Koyanitz was in there, when Breidenbach was in there, they just don't look like confident basketball players. They don't look like they have an idea of what they want to do, right? It's sort of like they get the ball and it's like, okay, what now? Walker's not like that. Walker gets the ball and he's decisive.
Yeah.
He's backing down his defender. He's creating space. He's looking to finish. Breidenbach and Koyanitz, they're just sort of out there. They catch the ball and it's like, okay, I'm in between. What do I do now? And so when Walker's off the floor, especially now that Juwan Gary's going to be out, and you don't have another guy like Juwan Gary on the roster, really, that sort of who can go out and guard the stretch four, who provides you that rebounding on the inside as well. So replacing his minutes is going to be really tough. And it's going to be, we saw it last night, it's going to be big for Walker to stay out of foul trouble.
Yeah, totally. But, going back to your point of Juwan Gary, the one area that we thought, all right, how are you going to replace him? You're talking about Denham Dawson, and then the second half. There's a little bit of that energy. There's a little bit of that on-court presence that can fire up a team. And you saw that in that key stretch that we were just talking about. Whether we're talking about, Koyanitz or not. That is always kind of nice to get. What Koyanitz have? He had 5 minutes. At 5 minutes of game time.
I wouldn't say it was a good.
Together. While you were able to.
He wasn't an absolute liability.
Because when Koyanitz was in, correct me if I'm wrong, Derek Walker was still sitting with 4, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so he had not fouled out. So it wasn't like Koyanitz had to play just because Derek Walker had fouled out. But these are the types of roles that some of these guys are going to have, like seeing CJ Wilshire come off the bench, which we have now. I don't hate that role for him.
But when Walker first went to the bench with 4 and they brought in Breidenbach, there was a stretch there where he was just getting abused on the inside by Zed Key. Like he was a liability on the defensive end.
Yeah.
And then he quickly got to 3 fouls, and that's why they had to bring in Koyanitz, he was better on the defensive end than Breidenbach, but he's just not at the stage, I think, where he's going to provide you much on the other end.
Right. No, he's not. You're not looking for Oleg to give you, a double-double. But, hey, maybe no. We'll
but I
see.
am interested to see how they fill those about 30 minutes a game that Gary was playing. And I just looking at the stats, 4th in minutes, 4th in points per game at about 9.5, 2nd in rebounds. He's leading the team in steals. And like I say, I don't think they have another player that plays that role who's, about 6'6", can go out and guard a wing on the perimeter too. You have Griesel, who could probably be that guy at 6'7", but he's handling the ball so much, you don't want to move him down there. So it will be interesting to see who fills that role. I just don't think they have anybody else like him.
Well, you're filling it with a multitude of guys, and I think it's going to be completely dependent on the matchup. If you ask me,
you're going to have to change the way you rotate and
play.
I
mean, look at last night's starting lineup. So you go small, and I mean, are we convinced that Tominaga is going to be starting every game going forward? I'm not. Does that mean like Wilshire gets a start? Hell, Jamarcus Lawrence has been making some improvements. I'm not saying he would start, but I mean, Denham Dawson, gets another start. You could go if you want to, like they did against Purdue. You start Breidenbach. If you want to go big, you can go that route too. I just think it's going to be dependent on the matchup, that's why I was intrigued that they decided to go small with a bigger front court of Ohio State. That they're like, okay, and it's not like, hey, did you see the way they started the game? Boy, it really worked because it was awful. I mean, the first half for both teams was awful. And give Nebraska credit because when they were missing shots and they were defending on the other side, Ohio State wasn't making shots either. In fact, Ohio State looked a lot more sloppy in the first half, at least for, I would say, the first 17 minutes, more so than what Nebraska did. So, I mean, credit for Nebraska to be able to hold Ohio State down while they're also missing shots. It was a bad first half of basketball. It was not good college basketball in the first half.
No, but here's the other thing that stuck out to me. This was one of those situations, a midseason game that Nebraska absolutely needed to win.
Yep.
Right? They had to do it. This is a team that they should beat. It's on a 4-game losing streak coming in. This is a spot where Nebraska needs a win. And in the past under Hoiberg, they lose these games.
Right.
Where they come in with a little bit of good feeling, like, okay, this is a game we can win. This could be a sort of a midseason springboard to the rest of the conference schedule. And then they would lose that game, and it would be a downward spiral because they've got it. One of the frontline players is injured, and now here we go.
Yeah.
This is the beginning of the end. And they came out, and it was a terrible first half. It was ugly, but they found a way to get it done, which is a big switch from what we expect out of this team especially during Fred Hoiberg's tenure, normally that's a game where they don't find a way to win. They find a way to lose. And they almost did. They almost found a way to let, that 6-point lead evaporate late, but, did just enough to come out with the victory. And now you look at the schedule ahead, Penn State away, Northwestern at home, and then 2 on the road at Maryland and Illinois. And those are all teams that are certainly beatable.
Well, and that's why I'm not trying to put too much on that stretch that we're talking about, where you get a big 3 from Lawrence, where Ola gives you a bucket, where you get some at least contributing minutes, positive contributions from the bench in that little stretch, because Ohio State, for every shot they made, Nebraska had an answer. And with some of those guys too, Denham Dawson with, that just ridiculous, like up and under, you got answers from Nebraska. And so by doing so, I hate in this type of game, especially down the stretch with no Derek Walker in the final couple minutes, having to play from behind.
Yeah.
For Nebraska to try to hold off Ohio State. Now, again, they were struggling in their own right shooting the basketball. Now, Bryce Anzabal, as I mentioned, got hot, but then he ends up fouling out too. Like, you get to that point where I don't love Nebraska chasing 3 in the final minute. And so that moment of the game is where it really could have turned, where Nebraska was sitting there with a 4 to 6 point lead, and they never relinquished that to where, tie game. No, Ohio State just took the lead again. And now Nebraska's going to have to go into that final media timeout where they're chasing Ohio State. And what was big about last night, we talked about this for the last couple of days between Gary, Jimmy, and myself, is you're in that, as we would call, the danger zone, because one of the things you just brought up, Juwan Gary's injury, you are also without Griesel last Friday against Purdue. You lose a couple of games, and give Fred credit for this one compared to previous years. They haven't had that extended losing streak. And last night, if you lose that game, and then you got some weird games, winnable games, but some weird games coming up, including going to State College this weekend at the Bryce Jordan Center, where I will say it every time I bring up any team playing in State College. It's where good basketball goes to die.
Friends and
because
family
it's
crowd.
It is. It's too big. They made that place too big for what Penn State draws. Even when Penn State has like a top 15 team, they still don't get that many people there. So it is. It's a very open arena feel where if you're sitting in the far corner of the arena, you're going to be able to hear what the coaches are saying, how they're instructing the players and everything.
You just pretend it's the height of COVID.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what it is.
All right, we're in the bubble today.
It's a create your own energy type atmosphere, and that's kind of what last night was. Anybody watching the game, you could tell it was a sparse crowd, and understandably so. So, but Penn State, hey, beatable team, right? You've got Northwestern coming up. Good start for Northwestern, but you're not going to look at the match and be like, oh,
it's still Northwestern basketball.
Good. Yeah. You got Maryland coming up. So, I mean, you lose last night, you wonder if this team starts kind of feeling it a little bit more. You win, though, as we know in any sport, for a team that is just trying to scrape as many wins. And, hey, by the way, last night they tied last year's
number 10
season total.
Double digits.
Of wins. And you got the whole rest of the month of January and February to now eclipse it. I think they'll get it.
It's called a winning streak. It has been done before.
Notice I said, I think.
You think.
Say they will get. Now they will. I mean, they still got Minnesota, but yeah, I mean, it's a unique stretch of games where you're not sure what to make of this team. And I don't want to make it sound like last night them winning that game gives you now a lot more clarity of who this team is. But is it encouraging to see the way Fred was able to kind of work the bench, get in some guys in certain situations, and how these guys responded, especially in a key stretch in that second half? Yeah. I think more than anything, you can walk away last night encouraged with what you saw, especially in the second half.
I think just from Fred's demeanor on the sideline, you could tell.
And the tee. How about the tee?
This is what I'm talking about. He knew that this was a big, big game for this team. And for the stretch that they're heading into, to start it off the right way. He's not a guy that gets teed up very much.
Nope.
And he was heated. He was getting after those officials on a bunch of stuff. There were some bad calls. They went both ways for the most part. It was, I don't know, a pretty consistently officiated game from my point.
Yeah.
But for him to get teed up in that moment and be as hot as he was, I just think that shows like he's feeling like this could have been the start of something. Like he knew that was such a big moment for this team to get them going here into the latter part of the Big Ten slate.
Coming up on the show, we are going to be talking. It's been a while. In fact, our first conversation with Sarah Baker Hansen of 2023. She'll join us at 8 o'clock. Steve Sipple will be joining us at 8:30. We have Ask Us Anything and your chance to win a gift card to Oscar's Sports Bar Pizza and Grill. So always fun with that. And then we'll be talking with Brian Edwards of MajorWager.com and take a look at some of the games this weekend, some of the action going on out there in Vegas. So that is our lineup presented to you by the Rooferees, John Higgins Weather Guard. I want to continue into this game last night and kind of look at the stretch ahead, because it is kind of an interesting time for Fred Hoiberg and this basketball program and what we continue to try to learn from this team. But we got a lot more to get to as well. We got some Husker football conversation getting into with a recruiting weekend that Nebraska will have a handful of guys that they are going to be looking at this weekend as winter workouts have commenced there in Lincoln. We've got NFL divisional round to get to today, which we will. Also, some interesting stuff, not just with the Vikings and the conversation that their front office is having about Kirk Cousins, but the Trey Lance tip is in, possibly, of getting out of San Francisco.
We know where he wants to go now.
Yeah, with a simple Instagram post. I mean, or is this the equivalent of, scrubbing your IG just to make a point? But a lot to get to as we will do so. Also, we will get into Creighton, even though they're off this week, as you kind of take inventory. There's a big upset last night in the Big East. And again, what have we learned from Creighton through what was a extremely difficult stretch of conference games? We've got all that. Again, it is John Schreiner filling in for Gary Sharp, Jimmy, and myself. It is Mornings with Sharp and Handley here on 1620 The Zone.
Gary Sharp, Nick Handley, and Jimmy Chavez. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Weekdays 6 to 10 on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Mornings on 1620 The Zone is brought to you by MD West One Orthopedics, Neurosurgery, and Spine. The Connor Happer Show.
There's no one in the history of sport who loves to hit you with a video of himself chopping wood at 4:30 in the morning more than Justin James Watt. And he wants you to know about it because you're lazy and he's the hardest worker in the room. I say, if we're going to be okay with putting mediocre players in the Hall of Fame, then sure, what better place to start than J.J. Watt? Wow.
The Connor Happer Show. Weekdays from 10 to 2 on 1620 The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast from the Godfather's Pizza Weather Center and KETV Newswatch 7 on 1620 The Zone.
Still a chance for a few flurries and brief light snow showers early Thursday. Otherwise, expect cloudy, breezy, and cool conditions with northwest winds gusting 20 to 30 miles per hour, highs around 30. I'm meteorologist Sean Everson from KETV Newswatch 7.
1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the time-saving traffic center. With snow and ice on the streets, be prepared to take things a little bit slower this morning, but you can expect some slowdowns from Harrison to Center along 204th. East and westbound I-80 aren't experiencing too much slowdown, and neither is I-680 east and west. Along Highway 370, be prepared for a little bit of slowdown near Gold Coast Road, and on Dodge, things are slowing down just a little bit from 80th to 72nd. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott. This time-saving traffic was brought to you by IBEW Local 22.
Does great pay, fully funded medical benefits, and a solid retirement sound good to you? IBEW has immediate openings for residential electricians. Invest in yourself with IBEW Local 22. Call John at 402-973-0613.
Thank you to everyone who voted for MD West One in the Best of Omaha contest. We are thrilled to announce MD West One has been named the #1 private medical practice in Omaha for 4 years in a row. MD West One is also named first place in the orthopedic surgery and neurosurgical spine surgery. Our 34 board certified surgeons specialize in treating every bone, joint, or muscle condition from head to toe. Go to MDWest1.com to meet the #1 place to go for orthopedic, neurosurgery, and spine.
Your Omaha hockey team is home this weekend where they welcome Miami to the Baxter Arena. Pregame is at 6:30 Friday. Puck drops at 7:07. It's UNO versus Miami this weekend on your new home for Maverick Hockey. News Talk 1290 Coil. Guys, let's face it, there is a time when you just need to get out of the house, to have your own place, to be with the guys, or just a quiet, relaxing place for yourself. Well, Hearth Cigars and Pipes Lounge hears you loud and clear. Settle in. Escape to Hearth Cigars and Pipes Lounge for an incredible selection, plus premium cocktails, a knowledgeable, friendly staff, state-of-the-art humidor, and incredible lounge. Hearth Cigars and Pipes Lounge, just off I-680 at 48th Street next to Covey's.
From sales to service, the Woodhouse team provides insights and solutions to get you on the road faster and keep you on it. And if you're looking for the extras like accessories, extended warranties, or service contracts, they've got those also. Plus, they'll tailor the experience to you, from shopping and buying at home or the more traditional route at one of the 18 conveniently located dealerships, bringing you more every time. Shop with Woodhouse.
Oscar's Pizza and Sports Grill is your home for the big game. Whether it's the pro football playoffs or a rivalry on the hardwood, you'll find all the action on Oscar's upgraded audio-video system. With 40 TVs and massive dual projectors, the game has never looked better. Pair that with their award-winning char-buffed wings and $7.99 Monday through Friday lunch specials. Oscar's Pizza and Sports Grill has everything you need. 173rd and West Center Road, and for takeout at 162nd in Maple.
Did you know that radon is the #1 cause of lung cancer for non-smokers and that our region has some of the highest levels in the country? Radon Defense Midwest can test and fix your home. Visit radonradio.com for an exclusive offer for 1620 The Zone listeners. That's radonradio.com.
Attention sales professionals. NRG Media is looking for an accomplished business-to-business salesperson who wants to take their success and skills to a new level. Is this you? Our account executives work with local businesses to create marketing plans to help them get more customers. On air, digital, on-site, audio, video, it's all part of what you could sell. A sales career with NRG lets you make a real difference. Get more info and apply online at nrgmedia.com. NRG Media is an equal opportunity employer.
Make the right call, fans. The Rooferees at John Higgins Weather Guard.
Rooferees. Now back to mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Oh, yeah. How many of you have woken for this Thursday on this January 19th, 2023? And maybe you are chopping some wood. And no, this has nothing to do with Connor Happer show and Josh's take on J.J. Watt, which, by the way, I always appreciate Josh. He's got a very good sense of humor. I love Josh now after he said that.
No holding back.
I could not agree more on the J.J. Watt. Nobody wants to show you that they are. I guarantee, though, with this kind of weather, J.J. Watt he would have been up before any of us.
He'd already run 8 miles.
Yeah.
See, I picture this more right now. The snow plows, all the plows and all the street crews that are, by the way, kicking so much ass.
Yes, and thank you very much for that.
They hear this as they're going like, come on, Dodge, I got you.
Going up a hill? They're like, well, Rocky did it.
JJ Watt came to my house and chopped wood without a shirt on this morning.
Did he?
So, yeah,
and I got you fired up.
He's already there.
Got you fired up.
That's why I'm here.
To be fair,
I got
it's
pumped.
30. That's not that cold.
That's not really that bad. JJ Watt, he waits for it to be below 30.
Yeah.
And then does it.
Yeah.
And then chugs a protein shake while listening to Remember the Name.
What's the temperature range where JJ Watt wears a shirt? Is it like between 25 and
what was it in December?
78?
Yeah,
anything below
we got down to negative wind chill at one point was negative 42.
That's it.
Anything below 20, JJ Watt, no shirt.
Yeah.
Anything above 75, no shirt.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a buffer zone.
Yep.
See, when I listen to this, this isn't really the montage part. This is just one of the training jingles in Rocky IV. This is where I realized how much of an advantage Drago had with all this high tech equipment that he was working out, and then
absolutely,
Rocky's just he's doing like over the shoulder like
doing log squats,
like boulder extensions. Yeah, log squats and what.
They were the original at this means more.
Yeah, having a high knee through like 5 feet of snow wasn't easy. Hell, even Polly wouldn't go outside and watch it.
No, and he was complaining about the Rose Bowl.
I was supposed to watch the Rose Bowl game.
Actually, that's what I thought this morning when I scraped off the rest of that car.
Are you going to watch the Rose Bowl game?
Yeah.
Rocky's training in snow and Drago's inside. That's not how it.
No. You would think that if your native land,
it's like
you're
putting a
used to those
dome over
elements,
Lambeau.
right? Come on, man, toughen up. Because as we know, sorry if you haven't seen Rocky 4 by now, you probably never will.
Spoiler alert.
We already know we know the
It
outcome.
ends the Cold War.
It did.
They teach it in schools.
If I can change, you can change. Everybody can change.
Now let's go to recess.
Fully husk after that. It was a good play. But yes, as Jimmy mentioned too, a big shout out to city crew workers. They are working their tails off. If you're making your way out,
they got
it's not bad. It's not bad. Neighborhoods, as you know, okay, neighborhoods are not going to be great. Mine wasn't superb, but I was able to get out, able to get here on time.
Dodge was perfect.
Yeah, Dodge was fine. Just more wet than anything.
See, they were expecting like 10 to 14 inches and all that stuff, and so they were ready for this.
Yeah,
they were out there. By the way, we had our prediction board.
You got your contractors too that are like, all right, because they make money off this, so they were hoping that we'd at least get some type of accumulation.
We should have had John get in on this since he was coming in today. We had our zone prediction board, and for those who haven't followed, and they may have mentioned it on the other shows yesterday. So far, we're going by Epley, and we're going Price is Right rules, unless everybody goes over, and then you go closest. So as of right now, they have officially 2 inches at Epley, and our winner.
Is that what it is? Only 2
Yeah.
inches? Wow.
Yeah, I know.
All the
I know.
rain.
Trust me. It's the
Pretty
cold.
good.
Oh, talking about snow. At 641, Connor Happer, your winner at 3.8. Nick Grimm, 4.7. Bishop, 5.7. Nice prediction by Josh Peterson at 6.9.
See what he did there.
Gary at 4.6. Nick at 5.2. I had 6.3. And Josh Odson at 4.8. So congratulations, Connor, unless we get another couple inches in the next.
I believe it was
hours.
referred to as a wraparound band that I saw this morning when I was like, all right, what am I getting myself into?
You know whose fault it is? It's the schools. They called school off the night before. And anytime you do that, the storm total is going to be about half of what the projection is.
Well, I told Gary
Thank you,
that
schools.
I was hoping I would jinx it because in December when we were supposed to get a little something, and we didn't get anything at all.
We got a little nothing.
We just got really cold weather. I had gassed up the snowblower, turned it on, made sure everything was, all systems were going. They were. So yesterday,
you exfoliated the calluses on your hands.
I did. Yes, got ready for it. Yep. And then yesterday, I put it in position. Put it in position to where I could just turn it on, get it right out there. So I also feel like I had a hand in keeping the snow total at a minimum.
Good job, Nick.
Thank
Way
you.
to go.
Hey, whatever I can do.
Doing it for us.
Because Gary's point was there are people that get extremely excited. Like it's go time. Like finally get to dust off snowblower and we're going to have a snow event and I'm going to be able to use this equipment and I'm going to love it. I'm one of those guys, and I've only owned a snow thrower. I guess you have to make sure it's a thrower. There's a difference. I've only owned a snow thrower for 2 years, and I am perfectly fine with filling it up fully and having burned that gas off in March because I didn't use the entire full tank. I'm okay with that, especially if that means I jinxed it. Then I will say, yep, I did my part.
You'll
Because
spend that $2.99 for the gallon of gas.
I could care
and
less.
happily throw it away.
And for those snow lovers, there are places in Nebraska you could move to so you can get your fix.
Yeah. Sorry to our friends up in the north.
I'll tell you, my kid was pretty disappointed though, because he had the day off school. And he was so pumped about going sledding yesterday because we have a big hill in our backyard.
Yeah.
He was jazzed. He was ready to go. And then so the snow starts coming down. And he's like, yes. And then it starts raining, and you just see all of the excitement just wash out of him. Like, this is not.
I think he's got enough to work with now, though.
Maybe
combination,
today.
Yeah.
He's got to go to school today, though.
Oh, they got to go to school today. They called it off yesterday.
A lot of 2 hour late starts.
Oh, late starts. Okay, well, that's a bummer.
There's a sports metaphor, John, you could share with him. See, now you know how Viking fans feel.
Ooh, shots fired.
None of us in here are Vikings fans.
None of us.
Yeah.
No, I'm
Well,
even,
they would be the
I'm
first
even
to
worse
say it,
off
too.
than that.
And
though.
you've got this renewed confidence out of Jimmy now that his Cowboys won a road playoff game for the first time since 1992.
It took convincing from Nick, who's been consistent at me, and from Gary, and then Scott Shanley. So now they're slowly turning me into a level of optimism that I don't naturally live by. That's a little more like Josh Peterson, who really believes that they could get it done. So I'm there almost halfway to Josh. Maybe by Friday.
And we are going to get into the divisional round because as we get closer and closer to this weekend, I think that might be the best game. I really do. I think Niners-Cowboys could be awesome. I totally do. But again, Nebraska winning last night 63-60. They are over 500. They matched last year's win total with the victory over the Buckeyes last night. So, as I mentioned, the interesting stretch, boys. My question is stackable success. Can Nebraska find stackable success to finish out the month of January? And if you're playing along at home, and by the way, hello, we've got 4 games left in the month of January for Nebraska. You've got at Penn State this Saturday. You are home to Northwestern on Tuesday, assuming Northwestern is able to play, because last night, as we talked about, they had to postpone their game with Iowa because they're dealing with not only injuries, but COVID, which that stinks. I understand. I'm not naive to think that COVID is not a thing anymore, but I thought we were beyond the postponement or no contest thing. And we found out later the Big Ten hasn't adjusted their policy yet. I don't know if it's just an oversight or what. So they are going to try to postpone that game or reschedule that game, which good luck with that. If they can't, does Iowa get pegged, or I'm sorry, Northwestern get pegged with a forfeit, which I think they should. All right. I mean, there was a time that, you tried to do everything in your power to accommodate the school that's dealing with that. Either way, Nebraska has Northwestern on Tuesday, January 24th. Then they're at Maryland. And I don't know if you've noticed, Maryland isn't great either. They're kind of that typical team in the Big Ten, like about 7 or 8 other teams, that they've got talent, they've got some guys, but they are not a very consistent basketball team. Very similar to what you saw last night out of the Buckeyes, who have now lost 5 straight. And then you wrap up your January slate on the road in Champaign. Wasn't pretty what happened to Nebraska at home a week ago with Illinois. So that one, my confidence level is low on. But can you find stackable success, meaning these next 4 games, could you go 3-1?
Yeah, I think if you have designs on, what was it? They were saying avoid Wednesday. If you have designs on avoiding Wednesday.
Yes. Avoid the first round of the Big Ten tournament, the play-in round.
With what comes after these next 4 games, I think 3-1 is probably what you need, honestly. And who's to say, Nick, that you go win at Penn State, beat Northwestern, find a way at Maryland, maybe you get that game in Champaign. If you've won 4 straight heading into Champaign,
what do you got in that Pepsi over there?
Well,
what do you got in there?
It's just a little winter treat. That's all.
No,
I'm
stay warm.
I'm saying
not everyone's JJ Watt.
I have very low confidence that is actually going to happen.
Yeah.
Just given the history of this team. But if they could win the next 3 and go into Champaign on a 4-game winning streak, I mean, confidence changes a lot of things. And this is a team that hasn't had a lot of confidence building stretches in the last handful of years. So if they could get one of those without Juwan Gary, that means they've found someone off the bench to replace his minutes who's doing something more than just standing on a basketball
court. Or they've
court.
At least found a combination.
Sure.
Because I'm a firm believer that you're not replacing Juwan Gary with Jamarcus Lawrence or Denham Dawson. But the combination of a couple of those guys, you could. I thought last night you saw some of that. Now, if they were to go 3-1, and again, this is just hypothetical, folks. I don't think either one of us is convinced they'll
I
even
don't
go
believe
3-1.
that they will.
Yes. But if they do, they would be 6-6 in conference play. You feel pretty good about that. 500 in conference play with 12 conference games. As I think we all know, and you cover college basketball for a very long time, you start getting a feel for whatever your postseason is going to look like, whether it's conference tournament and that's it, or you have the opportunity to possibly play in an NCAA or NIT. You take on the form of what that team's going to look like in the postseason in February.
Yes.
And so if you're going into February at 500 in conference play, feeling pretty damn good about yourself because you would have won games that I wouldn't even say you're supposed to win because they haven't really shown that. But
there aren't games that this team is supposed to win.
Yeah, but you've won some games where the talent disparity, or at least the matchup on paper, is a little bit more favorable than, say, that of against a Rutgers or a Purdue. You feel good about that because that does take on a sense of, hey, we're taking care of business with the more maneuverable part of our schedule. The thing that we've talked about it a lot on the show. The thing that you have to give Fred credit for this year is they have avoided that lengthy funk and extended losing streak.
Don't start one now.
Well, don't start one now. But the other thing they haven't really done, at least in conference play, is go on that extended heater. That really the last time you can point to is at the end of last season in the regular season, where they were the senior day spoilers.
Yep.
Where they wrecked Wisconsin and Ohio State's senior days. But other than that, you haven't seen Nebraska really get on that type of role. And going back to something you brought up in the first segment, you could see some of the remnants of that type of a losing streak because I always feel it comes with something you can point to. And in this case, we can point to, well, Juwan Gary went down. You didn't have both Gary and Sam Griesel in that loss against Purdue. Not that if Griesel plays Friday against Purdue that they win that game or have a shot at winning that game. It's not happening. And it's probably a reason that Sam Griesel sat out to begin with is because he wasn't right. They're like, okay, we need him right for this upcoming stretch of games.
And that's a game that you're not expecting to win anyway.
Exactly. But you lose last night and say you lose a couple of these games coming up, which still could happen. They could still lose some of these games coming up. You could easily point to, well, they just don't have Juwan Gary. And boy, it was just too taxing on this team. Now you have a shot to not only sort of work around that injury, but to at least, I would say, if you can grab 2 out of these next 4, that would be a step in the right direction too. Because again, okay, you're not at 500, but you're just a game below. You'd have 5 conference wins.
I think,
and that's still putting you in a good position to avoid that Wednesday.
I think we agree that if Nebraska can finish around 500, probably has to be 500 in Big Ten play.
Yeah.
They're at least in the conversation, right? They're approaching the bubble. Maybe you're 500 in Big Ten play.
Oh, well, most years, yes.
Yeah.
With the Big Ten strength, most years, yes. I don't know about it this year. I'd be curious to see what the conversations are because some do have are projecting 9 to 10. From the Big Ten to go. It's like, I don't know. I don't know about that. But
at least you're firmly in the NIT conversation.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, which would be huge. That'd be huge.
Approaching the NCAA tournament bubble.
That'd be huge.
If you're not on the bubble, right?
And I don't want to get ahead of my skis too much and say that's the conversation that needs to be taking place. That's the conversation Nebraska needs to have themselves in. But the bottom line is you've got an area of your schedule, and we'll talk about Creighton next hour, much like they do, where you have a chance to kind of get through some of the bumps of this conference schedule that you've gone through. And these two teams, Creighton and Nebraska, are different from the standpoint of what they're dealing with. Creighton just had an absolute death march of a schedule, where Nebraska wasn't necessarily a death march of a schedule, but you lose a player and you're still trying to find consistency in your program. After that Illinois game, you get into February, here's your schedule. Next 3 games out, home to Penn State, at Michigan, home to Wisconsin. And right now, Ken Palm has 2 more wins on the Nebraska schedule. as far as the analytics goes.
That would be a
Minnesota
huge disappointment.
and Wisconsin. Didn't have a win last night, so you've already bucked that trend. So you would think that against Penn State at home, depending on how that goes this weekend, Penn State at home, Wisconsin at home, those are gettable. Just saying. If this team is able to figure out what they want to do in the Juwan Gary absence,
it's a big ask.
It is. And if they're able to find a formula that works. Now, we know.
And look, I'm not saying it's a big ask because Juwan Gary is so great. It's a big ask because, as I said before, there's not another player that fits that mold on the roster. There's no plug and play option that like, okay, Juwan Gary's out, we're going to put in player X. They don't have it. There's not another player like that. The only one, as I said before, is Sam Griesel, who has that kind of body type and that kind of ability to provide you that guarding on the wing, adding something in the rebounding game. But you've got to have him handling the ball so much that you can't afford to take him out of the role he's playing currently.
Yeah. It's this team, they do this to us a lot. They get our hopes up. They do. They get us talking about these scenarios because now you're starting to look at the schedule ahead and you're like, oh, hey,
we can start to get in the conversation here.
And then they'll get beat by 20 at Penn State on Saturday. And then we'll be like, what the hell were we even thinking? Damn you. More about Creighton too, with the week off, kind of a good time to sort of reflect, if you will. Sit by the fire, reflect on the Creighton season. But I think it's a huge opportunity up ahead for Creighton right now. We'll get in that a little bit later. Want to get into the divisional round as well. We've got some Husker football notes to get to, including a recruiting weekend. And also Gary brought up the first impression of this roster right now is speed, which I think a lot of us would agree. But does that word strike fear in the hearts of Husker fans right now, considering where the Frost era started off of? We'll get with that. Again, want to give you a stats when I return for a chance to win. Are we down? We're back down to 100, right?
Unfortunately, we are.
Yeah.
I mean, fortunately for those who won.
Yes. We're at a skinny booty for Gary's booty. So I'll throw a number your way before we get out of the 6 o'clock hour. More here on Mornings with Sharp and Handley, 1620 The Zone.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com with Gary Sharp and Nick Handley.
The divisional round of the NFL playoffs finishes with a Sunday doubleheader. Hi, this is Scott Graham. Join me and the rest of our Westwood One crew for all the action. First, Joe Burrow and the Bengals take on Josh Allen and the Bills. Then it's a classic NFC showdown when the Dallas Cowboys meet the San Francisco 49ers. Coverage begins at 2:30 p.m. Eastern. From the wild card round all the way to Super Bowl 57 in Arizona, the NFL playoffs are right here.
If it's the NFL, it's on 1620 The Zone.
J-Tech Construction reminds you that this time of year, your home's energy efficiency is under tension. Don't let your windows cost you by raising your energy bills this winter. J-Tech Construction will come out and provide you with a free estimate on upgrading your windows and keeping your energy costs down. They have custom-made, energy-efficient windows that keep the outside out with the professional installation you would expect. Contact the official exterior and solar experts of the Huskers. J-Tech Construction, your exteriorexperts.com.
Hi, I'm Nolan Sullivan, senior captain for Omaha Maverick Hockey. Omaha Hockey is coming off a home sweep. We've won 5 out of the last 6 at home, and because of you, we're ranked 4th in NCAA attendance. Get your tickets for the rest of the season and help us rock the Baxter. Please help us keep this momentum going as we try to earn home ice for the NCHC playoffs.
Get your tickets by calling 402-554-MAVS or by going to omavs.com/ticks.
Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if a prescription is appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for full details and important safety information. Subscription required.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 90% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to 4hims.com/radio. At Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the biggest brands at 90% off. That's right. Get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but 90% cheaper. It's the same medication you get from your doctor, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, forhims.com/radio. That's forhims.com/radio for your free online visit. forhims.com/radio.
I'm Jenny Benson, president of the Nebraska State Education Association. It's a new year. One resolution that should be a priority is to make reading a part of your child's daily routine. Kick off the new year by making reading a priority in your home. Read to your children. Let them read to you. Make every day an opportunity to sharpen your child's language skills while expanding their vocabulary and knowledge.
Sponsored by the Nebraska State Education Association. Aired in cooperation with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Thank you to everyone who voted for MD West One in the Best of Omaha contest. We are thrilled to announce MD West One has been named the #1 private medical practice in Omaha for 4 years in a row. MD West One is also named first place in the orthopedic surgery and neurosurgical spine surgery. Our 34 board certified surgeons specialize in treating every bone, joint, or muscle condition from head to toe. Go to mdwest1.com to meet the #1 place to go for orthopedic, neurosurgery, and spine.
The Creighton women's basketball team welcomes in the Villanova Wildcats at DJ Sokol Arena Friday night. Hear all the action on 1180 The Zone with Jake Eisenberg and Rob Sims. It's Creighton women's basketball versus Villanova Friday at 8 on 1180 The Zone.
Creighton coverage on The Zone is presented by Barry Law. At Barry Law, we fight alongside those who choose to fight back. Call Barry Law at 402-999-7777 or visit barrylawfirm.com. At Barry Law, we're in it to win it.
And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
Get into the 7 o'clock hour. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. John Schreiner, Nick Hanley, Jimmy Chavez. Appreciate you being with us this morning as the traffic is steady right now over on Dodge Street.
Can't hear this song without thinking about Shrek.
I always think about
Dumb and Dumber. That's where I go.
See,
It was in the trailer. I don't think it was in the movie.
We all have a different connection to this. I think of Revenge of the Nerds too. Nerds in Paradise.
You win.
Yeah.
You went deep into the bag on that one.
I did.
Nerds.
Nerds. I typically do.
So I do
Bunch
like
of
the Shrek
damn nerd.
You just got whipped. I can quote that movie all day long. By the way, I got a funny Scott Frost story involving Revenge
like
of the
the
Nerds.
segue.
Yeah.
Involving nerds?
Was he in the other fraternity?
He was. I don't know if Frosty was an alpha beta, but on one of my radio shows way back when Scott Frost was his first year, that we were scheduled to have him on the show, and when he was supposed to call, he hadn't called yet, and during the conversations, we're waiting to connect with the previous head coach for Nebraska, Scott Frost, that we got into talking about A.J. Bush. We were talking about the quarterbacks in the Big Ten West and talking about how, it was exciting to see where Nebraska would be because, Adrian was going into his second year and he, dazzled us in his true freshman year and whatnot. And I got into, somehow brought up A.J. Bush and I said, we've got Bush. And we finally got a hold of Frost, or Scott finally called in. And in the middle of the conversation, we were talking about, quarterback play and whatnot. And Frost said, and by the way, love the A.J. Bush, we got Bush, Revenge of the Nerds reference. And I was like, oh, Scott got it. And at that point, I felt like, hey, you know
10
what?
national championships.
There's a connection here. There is a connection here, my friends. Scott Frost
Man of
totally
the people.
picked up the Revenge of the Nerds line that I dropped there. That was
the
fantastic.
peak of the Scott Frost era at Nebraska.
It was.
It's all downhill. From
It was at least a highlight for me. I walked a little taller that day.
I wish I could say you were wrong, Jimmy.
Like,
boy,
I think I had him laughing in his car. He's like, ha! I got to call the
Revenge of the
I
Nerds.
think he was on the fence whether he wanted to do the interview with me, and then once he's like, wait, this guy just
Then
quoted
you
Revenge of the
dropped the
Nerds.
Revenge of the
Oh,
Nerds,
he's like,
and he's
yeah,
in.
Weekly segment.
My kind of people right here. My kind of people. Before we hit a break, wanted to get you a stat to know. So we are spending the entire hour talking about Nebraska's win last night over the Ohio State Buckeyes. Huskers have now matched last year's win total. That first half, as we would talk about, was a little sloppy. It was kind of poopy. Just to use whatever adjective you'd like to use about that first half. It wasn't good.
You can't overstate how bad it was.
Nope. But as I mentioned, the second half for both teams really did pick up. It was very entertaining down the stretch. Nebraska scored 42 points in the second half. The 42 points mark the Huskers' highest scoring half in a Big Ten game this season. And it's the highest scoring half in conference play since scoring 43 in the first half at Ohio State last year. Ohio State brings it out on us. So know the number 42. That's how many points Nebraska scored in the second half, which marks their highest scoring half in the Big Ten this season. 42 is the number. We're back here on Mornings with Sharp and Handley, 1620 The Zone.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Live from the Host Coffee Studio, this is 1620 The Zone.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley, brought to you by MD West One Orthopedics, Neurosurgery, and Spine on 1620 The Zone.
1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the time-saving traffic center, we have one accident to report involving multiple vehicles that has one lane blocked along westbound Highway 370 at 66th Street, so please be cautious if you are in that area. Then on Dodge, be prepared for some slowdown from 72nd all the way to 35th. And along 204th, be prepared for some significant slowdown from Cornhusker Road all the way to Center. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott. This time-saving traffic is brought to you by Saul's Jewelry and Loan.
What does Saul's loan on? Almost everything, like tools, instruments, designer handbags, construction equipment, vehicles, trailers, appliances. $10 to $50,000 super fast and easy with no credit check. Saul's loans on almost everything.
From basketball to volleyball, baseball to softball, soccer, tennis, and so much more, the Creighton sports season is packed with action. The 1620 The Jays podcast, presented by Barry Law, covers it all. Each week, we visit with Blue Jay athletes and coaches to hear their stories and document their climb through the Big East Conference. The 1620 The Jays podcast drops each Friday morning and is found at 1620thezone.com and all major podcast platforms. Just search 1620 The Jays. Covering all things Creighton Blue Jays, it's the 1620 The Jays podcast, presented by Barry Law from 1620 The Zone.
You can find pizza anywhere. But when you want pizza pie, piled high with more toppings, that's when you come to my place, Godfather's Pizza. For a limited time, get your hands on 2 of my large one-topping pizzas. Pick pepperoni, beef, black olives, you choose. All this food for only $29. Feed your whole mob without breaking the bank. Hey, it's an offer you can't refuse. Godfather's Pizza. Do it.
The Creighton Blue Jays return home Wednesday night for the first matchup this season with St. John's. Pre-game coverage begins with Ravi Lula at 6 p.m. Tip-off is at 8. The Blue Jays Wednesday night on 1620 The Zone and 1019 The Keg.
This is a sale so big that Standard Heating and Air can only do it once a year. Right now, and for a very limited time, buy a Carrier air conditioner from Standard Heating and Air and get a free furnace. Carrier, turn to the experts. On qualifying equipment, for details, call or click.
At Mucinex, we don't believe in cold and flu season. We only believe in comeback season, which starts with 12-hour relief. Just one dose of Mucinex DM provides 12 hours of relief for cough and chest congestion day or night. That's 3 times longer than those 4-hour cough liquids. So say goodbye to cold and flu season and hello to comeback season with Mucinex DM. Nothing lasts longer among over-the-counter cold and cough medicine. Get relief that lasts with Mucinex DM. Use as directed.
What's for dinner? Burgers?
After last week, no thanks.
Avoiding foods due to fear of diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools? It may not be just stomach issues. It could be EPI, or exocrine pancreatic insufficiency. EPI can cause uncomfortable symptoms because it's a condition where the pancreas doesn't release enough digestive enzymes to break down food. But EPI can be managed. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor about your symptoms. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Thank you to everyone who voted for MD West One in the Best of Omaha contest. We are thrilled to announce MD West One has been named the #1 private medical practice in Omaha for 4 years in a row. MD West One is also named first place in the orthopedic surgery and neurosurgical spine surgery. Our 34 board certified surgeons specialize in treating every bone, joint, or muscle condition from head to toe. Go to mdwest1.com to meet the #1 place to go for orthopedic, neurosurgery, and spine.
Mavs and the Jacks. Enough said. The rivalry in the Summit League between Omaha and South Dakota State continues tonight on News Talk 1290 Quill. 6:30 pregame. Tip-off is 7 o'clock at Frost Arena as Omaha tries to move up not only on Interstate 29, but in the standings. We'll talk to you tonight on News Talk 1290 Quill.
Shop Woodhouse Place Hyundai and Nissan, 144th and Giles. KOZN, Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs. And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
Snowy Thursday in the beautiful city of Omaha, Nebraska. Mornings with Sharp and Handley.
I don't know if you know this, Nick, but the snow is not stopping.
See,
I'd have to hold on declaring Connor the winner.
I'm looking out at my car,
Gary
which I can
Sharp
see from
is
the window.
next.
I'm still not at the point where I'd have to dust it off, so it's okay. But yeah, you're right. We've got some festive flurries right outside our window. Festive
What are we
flurries.
celebrating?
That was last month.
We got Valentine's Day coming.
We celebrate that with snow now? Is that
No.
the thing?
I don't.
No,
I
no.
prefer not to, but yeah. Traffic seems to be going good. Although going to the JTech Construction Zone Twitter feed, Steve said driving this morning. He's got good morning, Steve. He's got the. It's like what was that? What do they call that maneuver? Drifting. You know, the drift with the car, like Tokyo Drift. He's got the car drifting around a curve. So I don't know if that means he's maneuvering it just fine or if it's that slick. Again, our traffic report for all three of us, I thought was pretty consistent. That would be the neighborhoods were a little dicey as they typically are. Hell, you get an inch of snow and the neighborhoods somehow are dicey, but the main roads were fine.
I will say the only difference this morning is that we were all doing the speed limit on Dodge, which was about 15 lower than everyone's going.
Yeah, I was hitting some very random lights as I was approaching 156 over to Dodge. I'm like, what?
I did hit some random lights.
Yeah, like neighborhood ones where a car
normally-
wasn't coming out of the neighborhood, but it just all of a sudden I hit a red, and I'm like,
I did have a couple of F-bombs on the way because of
Yeah. I don't like that.
You, Jimmy? No, come on.
I mean,
You don't.
kind of how we learn how to drive.
You don't swear.
Are you guys? I don't want to say road ragers, but are you guys tough talkers in snow when people are not driving to your liking?
Nah, I'm actually pretty chill. On
I
the
tend to be, but then I have to stop myself because I'm like, ugh. I know how I felt when I was in that position.
So, like,
if someone's
you just-
going slow and I'm like up behind them, I know when I've been in a non all-wheel drive car before and someone's up on me, I'm like, get off my, you know what? Like, I can't go any faster. Can't you see what's going on?
It's a two-door Civic.
Yeah. Now I'm like, come on, go more than 30.
So you go all Polini, and then you see it's a sweet 81-year-old woman. It was like,
Yeah.
I would never call her that in
Then I
real
stop.
life.
Then I stop and just say, take a breath. Yeah. Goose frappa.
Let's go have some oatmeal together.
Goose frappa. But yes, I mean, what do they always say? Just take your time on the roads today.
You know, one
Let's
other
do
thing, Neil Nelkin and I were talking about this, and there's something about working the shift.
Happy retirement, Neil. Still here.
Is he here right now?
I don't know if he's here right now. I don't see the light on over there, so I think he's sleeping in this morning. Good for him.
We both said that when you work this shift, you know, people could be like, "Oh, that sucks, getting up early." I'm like, well, the getting up can be the rough part. However, driving in, always peaceful.
Yeah,
I don't mind it.
That's on mornings like this.
I enjoy the drive in more than the drive home.
So this is me getting used to the mornings, so I can't say I have a lot of experience. I did used to do a
Shout
morning
out
show
coffee.
in Columbus. Coffee is great. I'm on cup number 2. When I lived in Columbus, though, and I had a 6 a.m. call time, 6 a.m. show time, I literally lived 4 minutes away from the radio station. So I didn't really have to deal with much of that. But I would agree. The December little scare that turned out to be nothing when it came to the snowstorm. Noticed then, and I noticed this morning. I'd rather be on the roads at 5 a.m. as opposed to 8 or 9 a.m.
Absolutely.
Even if it is just like a dusting. Because as we all know, you get the dusting and everyone's like, oh, Jesus. There's snow.
Before I officially took over here in this chair, they invited me. I was allowed to go see people.
Good for you.
They allowed me to go have breakfast at Jones Brothers, and so it was one of the Friday shows. See how it all goes, because you'll never see it again. You'll never see anything again. But anyway, so I go over there, but the difference is I had to be there around 8:30, 9 o'clock. So driving on Dodge about 8:30 took me about 45 minutes. So I texted David and be like, hey, I'm running late. Something happened on Dodge. There was like an accident. And so I've never forgotten that once I started coming in at 5 o'clock, and you're just like, you know what? This is all right.
Yeah.
It's a great day.
I prefer it as opposed to the actual rush hour. So again, the traffic that's been coming through hasn't been plentiful as we're 12 past the 7 o'clock hour. It's moving well. That's the key. And there's your traffic report.
And again, shout out
Thanks,
to all the
Nick.
crews.
Yeah.
Excellent job.
They've
expected.
They've been very, very good. We'll get into some Nebraska football offers and some recruiting weekend that will be in front of Nebraska again as winter conditioning. Now, Gary was applauding our fan base and us locally for not losing our mind over the first conditioning hype video. Did you get a chance to see it? It's very quick.
I have not consumed this video.
Okay. So you're at a point where you probably don't even, you're like, if there was a video, it was an appointment television for myself, right?
No. So here's the thing is, at this point with Nebraska football, I'm really mostly only interested in what happens on the field, because I feel like we've been sold so many bills of goods by the previous coaching staff about this player, that player, this system, that system, what we're going to do, what we will do, what's up next. This guy is the next Dave Remington. Like, I stopped paying attention. It became the boy who cried wolf at some point.
Yeah.
Right?
It is.
And so, honestly, I don't follow it. The off-season stuff, I look into the recruiting a little bit. They got a nice player out of Florida. They got a nice player out of Texas, whatever. But I don't get into it like I used to. I used to be like, got to check the recruiting rankings every single day. Who's on the radar, who's coming, who's not coming.
Yeah.
I just don't anymore. So that stuff doesn't even hit my radar. And I listen to this radio station a lot. Obviously the knob is pretty much broken off on 1620 in my car.
Yeah, baby.
So
there's a promo. We'll cut that.
Yeah, I like that. I do like that.
I hear about the things, but I don't go seek it out anymore because it doesn't seem to matter in the grand scheme of things when it comes to wins and losses. These hype videos, this preseason stuff, spring football, none of it really does anything for me anymore. It doesn't get the blood pumping like it used to.
What I'm intrigued with right now is probably different than most years when it comes to recruiting. And I think it's probably natural for Nebraska fans to feel this way. And that is, I think that there's a big difference between interest and the overall impact that it has on your feeling for the upcoming season. I find it interesting to see how Matt Rule and how this coaching staff, as they come together, what areas they are recruiting, what they're identifying. We were talking about this yesterday with the maybe one characteristic of this current roster being speed. And we'll get to that here in a little bit. But just get an idea of what this group is going to do, because I would agree, and Gary's talked about this a lot on the show too, is that they are, with the amount of analysts that they have compared to what previous staffs have had, and even Vers brought this up too, which I thought was great, a good comparison when it comes to the resources and not utilizing some of those resources when it comes to going all in on recruiting. And that's not necessarily meaning like, hey, we just got to, buy every player with NIL or, just be more aggressive. No, it's using more people, the whole talent evaluation, kind of basically having your own scouting department and being able to bolster that with analysts. You have the resources to do that. Why wouldn't you do that? Because you are in the talent acquisition game. Whether you're at the pro level or the college level, that's what it's all about. Whether we're talking recruiting, we're talking about free agency, whatever. That's what it's all about. And Nebraska has not utilized those resources. But what the comparison Verge made in using, the big shout out to Pisons, by the way, but using the sports bar reference.
It is awfully damn good.
It is good pizza. But using, the bar part of that too. It's like, well, it's like I have 6 beer taps, but I'm only opening 3. It's true. It's like, well, why wouldn't you use all of them? Why wouldn't you exhaust all those resources? And so with what seems to be Nebraska going all in, and as Gary's kind of referred to as trying to be a recruiting machine, to see what type of inroads this coaching staff can to see what type of prospects that not only can they identify, but have a legitimate opportunity to get. Because one thing that I was totally wrong on, and I don't know how you feel about this, John, or not, that when it came to NIL in sort of its infancy, and we still kind of are there. I mean, it's still very new. I always just assumed, well, the rich are going to get richer. The programs that have won countless recent conference titles and have been in the college football playoff and have been perennial top 10 teams, they've got the money, they've got the donor money, they're going to have people that are going to support that cause, and they're just going to now they're going to have even more of an advantage of getting the players that they want or getting players that other teams have because they can afford it. What I failed to sort of comprehend, or at least at the time factor in, was the resistance from some of those coaches, like a Nick Saban, like a Dabo Swinney, like guys like, I don't necessarily have to go all in. Now we have that card to play if and when. But you know what? What we're doing right now, and I don't blame these guys for that, what we're doing right now has been working. We've been playing in national championships. We've been getting guys to the NFL. And those results speak for themselves when it comes to recruiting. What NIL has done is it has made that recent season, that dud of a season for a program, not matter as much. Or maybe a dry decade of success not matter as much. And I honestly thought that would be a real challenge. Now, knowing how Nebraska was going head on with NIL and how they were going to position themselves very well once it all became, good to go legal, Nebraska would fall behind. But I thought some of the other, top 15, top 20 programs would really flourish. And that hasn't necessarily been the case. Now you have this real unique sort of coaching staff that has some pro experience that, at least for a short time, are used to dealing with free agency, are understanding and really embrace the resources that you have to put into talent acquisition. And now you're kind of seeing the two levels, the pro level and the college level, sort of intersect when it comes to how you can obtain talent. It's not just the traditional recruiting. It's not just getting your high school kids, which still needs to be a big, important part of it. I totally am on board with that.
Be the basis.
It does. It absolutely does. And then having, your 2-year, in some cases, 1-year junior college transfers. But now you're looking at the transfer portal and how NIL can impact maybe addressing some needs. Having the amount of analysts that Nebraska has and watching them here in the months ahead, I think is going to be very intriguing. Now, not for a second, John, am I saying I think it's going to make all the difference for Nebraska and this is going to take them to the upper echelon. I'm not saying that because I think, like what you were kind of saying, and I'm kind of in the same boat as, I got to see this stuff before I will even go into certain, outrageous, predictions, record predictions and whatnot. But it is interesting to see what they're going to do with sort of more resources and putting a lot more than previous staffs. And I say staffs, not staff, previous staffs have when it comes to talent acquisition.
Well, I'll give you my take on NIL. I always thought that it was going to be a great equalizer. I never thought it would make things more top heavy. Yeah, there were programs that were going to be able to spend more money on the NIL stuff. They were going to have more supporters that would be willing to pay those dollars. But the other side of that coin to me was always you could go to one of these big schools and be a B-lister when it came to NIL, or you could go somewhere that's maybe a little out of the way and be the A1 top dog, get all the endorsements, be the top of the heap as far as NIL, and make more money doing it that way. So I always felt like if you look at NFL free agency, right? Like not every free agent went to New England. There were still guys signing with the Jets. There were still guys signing with Cleveland.
Well, there's guys going to states, like, hey, let's go to Miami or let's go to Tampa because there's no state income tax.
Sure, yes. But like even the worst team in the league is still signing big time free agents because they have money to spend on it.
Yep.
And the other teams who are winning maybe don't. They don't have the quote unquote cap space to be able to pay what some of the other teams who maybe don't have as many big name recruits. Their collective might be maxed out. You find a smaller school who isn't at that level, but they can still provide a pretty nice package. I always felt like it was going to be a great equalizer of talent across the college football landscape. So I was in favor of it because I thought it would bring more parity, which is what we all want, rather than seeing Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson, and Team X in the playoff every single year. So I felt good about where NIL was headed. It's gone a lot differently than I thought it would. It's gone a lot bigger than I thought we would get to at this point. As far as from a Nebraska perspective, I was very skeptical, not only of Matt Rule, but every coach's name who was put out there. Just call it jaded, call it, pessimistic, whatever you want.
Are you talking about like the staff now?
Yeah.
Okay.
But from what I've seen and the way they are just road warriors in recruiting right now, and they're all over the place. They're, being active on social media, which is something that the previous staff really wasn't. And when you're dealing with young people, you need a social media presence. That's what they pay attention to. Just to see the way that they've gone about it has given me some more confidence in, okay, maybe this is the right staff. Maybe they will get things going in the right direction. Now, first year, that's not Matt Rule's MO.
Yeah.
First year, it's not an immediate turnaround with this guy. It's a burn it down and rebuild type of situation. So I like what I've seen so far. Granted, as I said previously, I don't pay that close attention to it anymore. The things that I have seen, though, I have liked, and it looks like it's going in the right direction.
This was a weird moment of where we are in college athletics, but one of the big things in Nebraska are able to retain their current roster is the 1890 initiative, the collective that Matt Davison is heading up. We were talking about having a shovel multiple times yesterday. So at halftime, I went out to shovel the driveway so I wouldn't have to do as much today. And so I was listening to halftime, and then I got a little bit of the first couple of minutes of the second half, listening to the broadcast, listening to Kent and Jake. One of the commercials was for the 1890 initiative
they have commercials.
Yeah. Now it's, are you interested in supporting Husker athletics through Husker student athletes through NIL? Then, whatever go to 1890 or contact 1890. Like that's just so weird to me. Because from a conceptual standpoint, I'm thinking, I'm listening to this as a normal advertisement of basically saying, do you want to help us pay players? Which it's just, and I know it says through name, image, likeness, and I'm not one of those get off my lawn guys. I get being able to make money off name, image, likeness is great. It's just so weird to hear now like advertisements for the collective itself.
Well, I think that was
weird.
That was one of the criticisms.
It's time to pay for players. We need you.
Yeah, I mean that's essentially what it is. Like, do you want to pay Casey
Husker
Thompson?
fans, do you want to win?
Did you like the first half that Sam Griesel had? Would you like to pay him, even though he won't be here next year?
I think that was one of the criticisms, though, of NIL was that donors were going to give money straight to student athletes rather than to the athletic department, right? They were going to pick a sport and they were going to, let's get some big recruits in basketball.
Yeah.
And not give that money to the athletic department overall, which helps support the broader student athlete landscape at the school. And, it's a valid criticism. I think we're still sorting all that out, how it's going to shake out. But listen, the people who donate large chunks of money to athletic departments in college sports are not hurting for money.
Yeah.
They can donate to both if they really want to, and it's not really going to affect them that much. So is it a valid criticism? Maybe. But in another sense, I don't think it's something that we necessarily need to worry all that much about.
Yeah, it was so weird just hearing an advertisement for it. I'm like, oh.
You've seen the 30 for 30 on SMU. Now it's legal.
I mean, it is. It's different. It's different, but to hear advertisements for like the actual collective itself, it's interesting. Real quickly before we hit a break, I want to go to the Equitable Bank inbox. They take banking personally. What's up, Doug? John says, he's like you, John. Other John. Actually,
same name.
They do spell it the same way too.
Nice.
J-O-N.
Way to go. No H. No H.
Yeah, there's no need. I mean,
no H.
Why throw an H in there when 3 letters will do? I mean, if it's J-O-H-N or J-O-N, I still know it's John.
So the correct spelling of Jimmy is J-M-M-Y. Shout out Jimmy Allen.
You're just simplifying stuff. That's all. John says, because of the BS that came out of that moron redhead's mouth. Geez, that's mean. I didn't say anything.
Ooh. Wait,
Oh,
is he talking about me?
No, I believe he's talking about Scott Frost, but he said because of that BS that came out of that moron redhead's mouth, I'm jaded enough about Nebraska football that even with a new coach, I don't want to hear anything any of them have to say. I want to see it on the field.
Fair.
Yeah, I don't believe he was referring to either one.
I mean,
of us.
I have nothing against redhead.
But listen, he's using redhead as a slur. And I can't get behind that.
When I had hair, it was red too. There is, and then when we get Connor in here, as Josh pointed out when we had our crossover, very, very soulless room here.
It is soulless room, happily so.
Jimmy lightens it up here. Jimmy's soul it burns bright in here because
I don't know. My heart's awfully cold.
There's no soul on this side.
If I'm the only person providing soul, you guys are screwed.
Yeah,
I'm not
really
really
have to work with right now.
I'm not really a true ginger though. I'm more like a day walker because I've got the red beard, but the hair isn't. It's more like a strawberry blonde.
Yeah, it's kind of where I was more of a strawberry blondish guy when I had hair, and now there's enough gray in my red beard that it's can't really tell anymore.
Trending that way too, brother.
Yeah, gray's great. Next, though, I want to talk a little bit about some NFL divisional playoffs, but also this interesting Instagram emoji message, if you will, from Trey Lance. Remember that guy, Trey Lance? Remember him?
North Dakota State.
Yeah, remember him? He was supposed to be the
Did he
franchise.
post a thirst trap? That's what the kids do.
Yeah,
nowadays.
not. By the way, really, what is this whole thirst trap thing?
I thought it had to do with hydration, but I was told it was not.
No.
Is that like I see Slay from the youngsters?
Yeah. Thirst trap is when you fall for a post by an attractive person on Instagram.
Is that what that is? I had
yeah.
no idea.
Yeah.
Oh,
you're thirsting for attention from an attractive person, and they trap you with a post on social media into a follow.
I had a friend teach me that one time. I was like, wow.
That's creative.
Indeed.
That is really creative.
Here, I thought we were talking about preventing cramping.
You see,
pickle
you
juice.
see some skin on social media, and then
it's a
then you're trapped. You're in.
Hashtag thirst trap.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I get it. But yeah, I don't think Trey Lance threw a thirst trap out there. Maybe it is kind of a thirst trap just to get some attention. But is it what Trey Lance pulled? Is this as simple as kind of the Lance potentially headed to Nashville? That it's more.
Great city.
It is beautiful. You could do a lot worse. And hell, he was in Fargo for a while.
And won national championship.
That is true, too. We'll talk some more NFL coming up here on Mornings with Sharp and Handley, 1620 The Zone. Hey there, start the new year off right in a Mazda CX-5 from Woodhouse Mazda or Woodhouse Place Mazda, the Metro's exclusive Mazda dealers. And on a day like this, you're going to love having that standard all-wheel drive, but also the heated seats, the heated steering wheel, just a few of the amenities that you get in the suite that has so much to offer, from entertainment to safety. And the great thing about Woodhouse Mazda, they have inventory available on the lot and arriving daily. The Mazda CX-5 is what I drive. I absolutely love it, with all the safety features, including blind spot monitoring, rear cross traffic alert, and adaptive front lighting system, which basically, as you turn a corner, the LED headlights pivot in the direction of your turn to improve visibility. You can shop online at WoodhousePlaceMazda.com or WoodhouseMazda.com, where you can chat with a sales representative, shop inventory, and even apply for financing. You can always visit 2 convenient locations in Bellevue and in West Omaha, where you will always experience a streamlined process to save you time. So check out Woodhouse Mazda and schedule a test drive today, either in person or arrange that online. Woodhouse Mazda, a drive worth experiencing.
Gary Sharp, Nick Handley, and Jimmy Chavez. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Weekdays 6 to 10 on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Mornings on 1620 The Zone is brought to you by MD West One Orthopedics, Neurosurgery, and Spine. The Connor Happer Show.
I used my meat slicer. My first ever use of it was to slice some cheese, and I made a video of it. I put it on Twitter. And people coming up to me in public, hey, I don't really reach out all that much, but I follow on Twitter, and I saw your meat slicer, and that's freaking awesome. Situations like that happen a few times. Unanimous support for me and my meat slicer. What a supportive community that you guys have been.
The Connor Happer Show. Weekdays from 10 to 2 on 1620 The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast from the Godfather's Pizza Weather Center and KETV Newswatch 7 on 1620 The Zone.
Still a chance for a few flurries and brief light snow showers early Thursday. Otherwise, expect cloudy, breezy, and cool conditions with northwest winds gusting 20 to 30 miles per hour, highs around 30. I'm meteorologist Sean Everson from KETV Newswatch 7.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley, brought to you by MD West One Orthopedics, Neurosurgery, and Spine on 1620 The Zone.
1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the time-saving traffic center, we have one accident to report at 33rd and Farnham, so please be cautious if you are in that area. Eastbound along I-80, be prepared for some slowdown from 42nd all the way to I-680 North. Westbound along 680, be prepared for a little bit of slowdown from I-80 West to Maple. On Dodge, traffic slowing down quite a bit from 77th all the way to 36th. Drive slow, drive safe, wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott. This time-saving traffic was brought to you by Fernando's.
Come on, when was the last time you had your Fernando's fix? It doesn't get any better than lunch, dinner, carry-out, even catering from Fernando's. Get your Fernando's fix. 114th and Dodge, 75th and Pacific, and FernandosOmaha.com.
Do something fun with the family. Come downtown and go to the auto show, January 20th through the 22nd at the CHI Health Center. Get inside the newest cars, trucks, and SUVs and see some of the hottest electric cars like the Hyundai Ioniq 5. Race a NASCAR remote control car. See beautiful classic cars and visit the Subaru Pet Adoption. Free admission for veterans on Friday. Get out and go to the auto show, January 20th through the 22nd. Find more at OmahaAutoShow.com.
Acura of Omaha has more than 100 quality pre-owned vehicles, with most priced thousands below market value. Get our best price in just minutes at AcuraofOmaha.com. That's AcuraofOmaha.com.
Creighton coverage on The Zone is presented by Barry Law. At Barry Law, we fight alongside those who choose to fight back. Call Barry Law at 402-999-7777 or visit BarryLawFirm.com. At Barry Law, we're in it to win it.
For the ones finding new ways to ensure the job always gets done. For the ones wearing many hats. For the ones who are hands-on, even from far away. And the ones keeping business moving forward. We are Grainger, offering professional-grade industrial supplies, plus real-time product availability and access to experts ready to answer your toughest questions. Call, clickgrainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Don't miss this week's Zone Deal.
This week's half-off deal is $50 worth of vouchers to Le Voltaire French Restaurant for only $25. Le Voltaire Pepperwood Village is a locally owned, unpretentious French restaurant serving down-home cooking with an extensive wine list and great handcrafted cocktails for decades. Whether dining with friends, clients, or that special someone, Le Voltaire will make you feel right at home.
Zone deals go fast. 9 a.m. Friday, 1620thezone.com.
Hi, I'm Nolan Sullivan, Senior Captain for Omaha Maverick Hockey. Omaha Hockey is coming off a home sweep. We've won 5 out of the last 6 at home, and because of you, we're ranked 4th in NCAA attendance. Get your tickets for the rest of the season and help us rock the Baxter. Please help us keep this momentum going as we try to earn home ice for the NCHC playoffs.
Get your tickets by calling 402-554-MAVS or by going to omavs.com/ticks.
Sean Callahan breaks down signing day and all the recent additions to the Husker staff and roster. This Thursday at Holy Ghost Church on 52nd and Q. Doors open at 5. Program starts at 7, and it's only $10 for adults and $5 for children. Sponsored by Husker Hounds and Mama's Pizza.
Did you know that radon is the #1 cause of lung cancer for non-smokers and that our region has some of the highest levels in the country? Radon Defense Midwest can test and fix your home. Visit radonradio.com for an exclusive offer for 1620 The Zone listeners. That's radonradio.com.
Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. EquitableOnline.com.
Visit KuglerVision.com today and check out their special New Year savings on modern LASIK.
Now back to Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone. It's time for the Deuce with Jimmy Chavez on 1620 The Zone. All the headlines you need in 2 minutes or less.
All right, light the candle, spray the poopery. Here we go. Nebraska women's basketball rally. That's a terrible segue. Rallies from an 8-point.
No good. Nope.
Try again.
Sorry.
Try again.
Sorry to the Fighting Matt Coney. Nebraska women's basketball rallies from an 8-point deficit entering the fourth quarter as they went on the road at Purdue 71-64. They have a knack for coming back. They fight. Alexis Markowski dominated the fourth quarter on her way to a double-double with 19 points and 10 rebounds. Nebraska improves to 12-7 overall, 4-4 in the Big Ten. Purdue 12-6 overall, 3-5 in the league. Huskers back at home Sunday, the host Maryland. I know, I feel like I owe them an apology. There was nothing intended by that.
Why couldn't you just pivot into the first half of the men's basketball game? Because that was
appropriate.
That needed some poopery there.
Speaking of dumps, yes, 43 combined points, setting basketball back to the pre-shot clock era. But go Big Fred. The Huskers beat Ohio State.
Yeah.
All right. Sad news out of Fayetteville this morning. As first reported to me by my wife yesterday, the Arkansas Razorbacks are mourning the loss of their beloved mascot, Tusk V, who died of natural causes at his home near Dardanelle, Arkansas. The Razorbacks, this is listed on their website, earned 3 bowl bids and won 2 bowl games during Tusk's V's tenure. His final appearance, so I was part of history. His final appearance as Arkansas's live mascot came in the Razorbacks' 55-53 triple overtime win over Kansas in the AutoZone Liberty Bowl, and saw him at the Liberty Bowl parade the day before, so feel very special. He was a fixture at Arkansas Athletic
You were connected,
events.
too.
Yeah.
Had a personal connection.
Yeah, leading the hog walk and appearing on the sidelines, and traveled across the state of Arkansas in the offseason, connecting and interacting with fans of all ages. And like us all, it included eating grapes from the hands of his adoring fans. He served from 2019 to 22. He took over from his father, Tusk IV, staying in the family business. He'll be succeeded by his brother, Tusk VI.
How long will you be wearing a black veil in mourning, Jimmy?
Especially after meeting him.
Yeah, I know. Saw him live. I just have the urge to go have some bacon somewhere. Talk to Sarah about that. Oh, there's a good place to get bacon here.
Do we know if has Uga sent his condolences?
I hope. I would think so. They stick together.
I think
it
so.
Just means
I think
more.
that mascot community.
Butler's Bulldog will chime in.
Yeah, despite what
Mike
Pia
the
would tell you.
Tiger.
Yeah.
Maybe Ralphie. I don't know. Ralphie might feel like he's, because his stature is a lot larger.
They do their own thing out
Bevo.
there.
Yeah, Bevo and I feel like Bevo and Ralphie are probably like in their own club.
What?
Of like oversized
A
mascots.
hog. The cat head at K-State probably sent its condolences.
Yeah,
and,
I think it's a
somebody
tight-knit
needs
community.
to send condolences for the cat head. That thing's horrible.
What about don't get me started on creepy mascots like the Wheat Shocker.
Little Red.
I'm talking to you,
be
Wichita
reached
State.
for comment. It's too busy bouncing upside down.
He might be. Yeah. Hey, everybody mourns in their own way.
Yeah, unless Gary finally gets his wish and takes a pin to Little Red.
I bet that is a tight knit community, though.
And they
The
might have-
live mascots,
They
not,
might-
not the ones that are throwing
No,
donning the uniform, but the live
They
mascots.
fight each other sometimes.
They do.
The people in the suits.
But in the suits, yeah.
Or Bebo, who tried to gore poor Uga at the Sugar
Mhm.
Bowl a few years ago.
It had to be traumatizing for Uga.
Or when Uga tried to bite a Tennessee wide
Yeah.
receiver.
Yeah.
And then a Tennessee basketball player crashed into the Mississippi State Bulldog.
Didn't Uga drop a deuce somewhere? Like at a game? I thought Uga did.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
I've actually seen Bebo drop a deuce in person. And there's a local connection. Remember, Gary said local. At the 99 Big 12 championship game, as Nebraska was up 22-6 in the final minutes, Bebo had basically said, I've had enough of this.
Yeah.
Take me back to my trailer. Let's go back to 6th Street. So they walked him through the end zone right in front of our seats at the Alamo Dome. And he just crapped all over. He didn't get it right.
It was
though.
very metaphoric for the day.
It was
the
on the
Longhorns.
side that said Texas. So, yeah, that was pretty much where that game went. For
You
them.
didn't see Herbie or Little Red dropping a deuce because Nebraska won that game.
I love how this show has
That's our last conference title.
It's just embraced all of the toilet humor.
Yeah.
Like we got Jimmy doing the deuce. We're talking about Gary's booty all the time. This is the morning constitutional on your radio.
Hashtag Team Ass.
That's right. It has to be done. It has to be done.
No, it's a requirement.
It is. I mean,
1620 The Zone, your poop station.
we love toilet humor. Okay.
Maybe we
I'm
should go
44
back to
years old,
calling
going on
1180 the
14.
deuce.
Yeah, the deuce. We do have the deuce.
It is.
It's not that.
We got
It's
zone
just
two, the
1180
deuce.
the zone now.
Oh, it's not the deuce
No more
anymore.
deuce. No.
Zod is no longer the deuce.
Nope.
It was all part of a big master plan.
Can we at least institute the Ocho though? Which, by the way, they need to do that more than once a year. The Ocho games. You got to have that.
I'm surprised the Big 12 isn't on
1290
that.
is kind of the Ocho of
They're
this,
kind of the
of this
Ocho.
place. Yeah.
do we get like tractor pulls? Can we get maybe?
No,
You know
but-
what I do want to get? I want to get a bags tournament on. Now that Jay
Okay.
Cutler's part of the bags tournament circuit,
He is. I
and
didn't realize that.
he is a major crap talker.
See,
what else
in
would
his,
you
in
expect?
his own sort of smug, smart aleck way?
Yeah. Don't care.
Yeah, exactly. Don't care, but will
Boys,
probably bring you to tears.
We've all been around radio long enough to know this. If you can sell it, we'll put it on.
I like it.
As long as somebody sponsors it.
Mm-hmm. I tried to see how much it would cost to do my radio show from my toilet when I lived in Wichita.
Oh, no.
Well, he said, how much money do you have? And I worked in radio, so that was the end of the conversation. But it was an idea of how to stay home. It was the original work from home.
You wanted to work from home, but you wanted to take a step further and work from the toilet?
I mean, if you're going to go hard.
Man, my legs would be numb after the first 20 minutes.
I mean, you could go to just the bathroom and set up chairs in there.
Oh, what? But do you have the better acoustics in there? I feel like the bathroom
that
traditionally
tight
is going to
room,
give you more
yeah,
of
you're gonna be
the
echoey.
the little reverb.
Well, the station I worked at, they didn't
Get
care about
echo
that
chamber.
stuff.
Well,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
They didn't care about radio.
Because sometimes we'll have a guest on, and they're talking to you either in their car or they're in maybe their kitchen just has high ceilings or something, and it sounds like they're in a bathroom, and then you'll get a tweet or an email like,
Is he in the
your
bathroom?
recent guest is in the bathroom. And then, of course, they always
It's a morning show, isn't it?
They can't just ask, are they in the bathroom? Like, are they taking a crap while they're talking to you? Like, I don't know.
Why, yes.
I don't ask what they're up to at that moment, as long as they're responding to the questions.
Turns into a live read for Depends because you have a lot of living to do.
We have really gone down a road here.
all because of the first deuce of the day. The first deuce. Which, again, can you please apologize to the story of Nebraska women basketball beating Purdue last night, because he said, I almost wish we just replay that.
Goodness.
Where you just said, all right, get
Jimmy,
out.
what if
light
out
the candle,
get out
spray the potpourri. We're going to talk
potpourri.
about Nebraska
Right,
women's
come
basketball.
on, man. They won last night. Amy Williams got a good team going
Is
on.
it Purdue or Purdue? Am I right?
I guess
Purdue-key.
yeah, if you're making it about Purdue, that's fine. But still, No, it's a good win. Come from behind.
It's a
win.
great win, and I didn't.
I was trying to
listen
listen to the story, but I was laughing too hard because of how dirty you did them.
Man,
I didn't mean it.
Mm-hmm.
I do enjoy watching them. I went to my first game of the year on Saturday because I emerged out of the cocoon.
Now you're covering your own behind on that one.
Yeah,
we
know your allegiances, Jimmy.
Yeah,
I don't work for them anymore.
For a guy who was heavily involved in the women's basketball play-by-play community, that was a very inappropriate beginning.
So somebody's thinking,
that was a crappy way to do them, Jimmy.
Somebody's saying you're just bitter they beat them in triple overtime.
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
That may be. Yeah, I mean, you could have easily, though. Again, the most ideal way to begin that segment with spraying the poopery is just make reference to the first half of the Nebraska-Ohio State basketball game.
That would have been ideal.
Because I think I said it
I don't
even
know if
earlier.
all
That was
poopery
poopy.
could have helped with that.
That was very, very poopy.
But they did win. That's all that matters.
That's when you overdo the potpourri and it makes the smell even worse.
Maybe we should just close the bathroom door for a while.
Closing the bathroom
let's get
door.
out of there.
Yeah. I'm going to close this segment is what I'm going to do. We got to get to this Trey Lance thing, though, too. So I want to do so. Also, coming up 8 o'clock hour, we're going to be talking. Jeez, how am I doing this? We're going to be talking food.
Isn't that in reverse?
As we're talking about this.
You've made room.
Yeah. Sarah Baker Hansen will join us at 8 o'clock. Steve Sipple at 8:30. We also still make sure you get your questions in. Jimmy at 1620thezone.com. Ask us anything and a chance to win a Oscars gift card. I feel like we gave
John Schreiner's honor. Make him good.
And I feel like we've given you some content with what we just talked about.
We tried.
For 10 minutes there. But yeah,
thirst traps and bathroom humor.
You can ask us anything. That's the beauty about it. And the good thing is one of you is going to have a chance to get some damn good wings and pizza over at Oscars. So
had them last week. I can vouch for them.
They are very good. 9:30 is when we will have some questions to answer. And then we will also be talking to Brian Edwards, majorwager.com. That is all still ahead. It's mornings with Sharp and Handley, John Schreiner, Jimmy, and myself. 1620 The Zone. Hey, get ready to watch some more NFL playoffs this weekend, and a great place to do so. None other than Omaha's #1 sports bar, and that's DJ's Dugout. A great place to gather with family and friends, whether you're watching Husker hoops, Creighton basketball with a Blue Jay lemonade, of course, or UNO hockey. In fact, UNO hockey with a weekend series. Well, why don't you pregame or postgame over at DJ's Dugout? With 7 metro area locations, there is a DJ's Dugout in your neighborhood. And there's so much going on. As we talked about some of our local teams, college basketball is in a very fun time of the year. Also, you've got pro hockey, pro basketball. As I mentioned, playoffs. We got that big game just around the corner. All great to watch on the beautiful media displays at DJ's Dugout. And again, if you're looking for a really fun team building exercise, whether it's with your company, family, friends, whatever, check out the new golf simulator out at DJ's Dugout, 10th and Capitol. Great way to spend time with a large group. Huge selection of delicious appetizers go along with that. And again, your team will love the experience with the amazing media display. So much to do, so much to enjoy at DJ's Dugout. They are locally in Vietnam, veteran-owned. Dig in at the Dugout.
More with Gary and Nick after this on 1620 The Zone.
The divisional round of the NFL playoffs kicks off with a Saturday doubleheader. Hi, this is Scott Graham. Join me and the rest of our Westwood One crew for all the action. First, the Jacksonville Jaguars take on Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. Then, it's an NFC East battle between the Giants and Eagles in Philly. Coverage begins at 4 p.m. Eastern. From the wild card round all the way to Super Bowl 57 in Arizona, the NFL playoffs are right here.
If it's the NFL, it's on 1620 The Zone.
Car repair is car repair. Most places you go can change your oil or fix your brakes. The difference is the experience you'll get at Omaha Car Care. We're part of the community. We were born here, and we believe that our relationship with you should be built to last. We're going to consult you, not sell you. We're going to give you a free loaner car. We're going to treat you like a valued friend that we want to continue to see in the years to come. I'm Rick Betker, owner of Omaha Car Care, and we'll be along for the ride.
Hey friends, Kent Pavelka here, back with John Higgins and the Rooferees at the Weather Guard showroom. The difference between your company and the ones that haven't been around very long, and what's the real value there?
We started the business in '85. That has to be worth something that you've been in the community for this long.
If people are just out there to shop the price and not the service and the quality of what we do and the integrity of who we are, those people may not be for us. And that's okay.
The Rooferees at John Higgins Weather Guard.
My brother-in-law died suddenly, and now my sister and her kids have to sell their home. That's why I told my husband we could not put off getting life insurance any longer. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $50 a month. Then we called SelectQuote. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $19 a month, a savings of $369 a year.
Whether you need a $500,000 policy or a $5 million policy, SelectQuote could save you more than 50% on term life insurance.
For your free quote, call SelectQuote at 1-800-672-7070. That's 1-800-672-7070. Or go to SelectQuote.com. 1-800-672-7070. That's 1-800-672-7070.
SelectQuote. We shop. You save. Full details on example policies at selectquote.com/commercials.
Need a side hustle or career change? Now you can get certified to repair mobile devices in just 1 week. At the Metropolitan Community College Mobile Device Repair Academy, you can earn a national certification at our 1-week boot camp. Learn the skills you need to become certified and apply them during a 2-month internship. You may be eligible for special tuition funding. Classes start soon and space is limited. For more information or to enroll, visit mccneb.edu/mobile repair.
For the ones finding new ways to ensure the job always gets done. For the ones wearing many hats. For the ones who are hands-on, even from far away. And the ones keeping business moving forward. We are Grainger, offering professional-grade industrial supplies, plus real-time product availability and access to experts ready to answer your toughest questions. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job in ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
1620 The Zone at 1620thezone.com. Now back to mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Coming up top of the hour, going to be talking with Sarah Baker Hansen. I got some questions as far as the food trends in January when it comes to people wanting to eat a little bit more clean. And I'm sure there's there's some. And how long does that typically last before you're like, screw it, bring on the carbs?
You know how long
Super
it
Bowl.
lasts for me? 5 minutes.
But yeah, it's like
I thought you were going to say the second.
Well, and then there's all this stuff with there's keto, then there's just low carb and all this. There's so much stuff going on.
I did keto.
My wife and I tried it once.
It wasn't actually.
It's not
wasn't
bad. It's not bad,
and it worked.
Yeah, it's not bad.
It gets boring.
Yes, you got to be very creative with what you're going to
Yeah,
eat. It's amazing.
It's
Just
very boring.
Eliminating bread from the diet is always
It's hard.
Yeah, I love myself a good Sammy
Sandwich, man.
Yeah.
Really hurts with Temperature Tuesday.
It does. It does.
And-
I mean, where are you gonna put all that ground beef and cabbage? You got to stuff it somewhere.
In a salad.
Then you gotta you gotta eat the cauliflower crust pizza.
Yeah, which again
can be good.
depending on the type.
It's
The
fine.
type, it can be good. It can be good, but
It's all right.
yeah, I've just kind of gone down to more of a. You know what? I'm just gonna go lower sugar. Because for me, when I start diving into like sweets and stuff,
yeah,
that's when it
it's a
gets me.
spiral, man. It'll
That's when
get you.
it does. So in the NFL, the Niners, in case you were paying attention, executive Ran Carthon is now the new Titans general manager. And why this is significant is we know that the Titans, as they move forward and maybe move away from one Ryan Tannehill, that they could be looking for their quarterback of the future. Could that be Trey Lance? And the reason I ask this is because Trey Lance, who has a relationship with Ran Carthon, posted a very intriguing message.
I saw it
on Instagram.
Described as cryptic.
It is cryptic. And in a way, it's kind of like, that Matt Rule is using a lot of emojis, explaining his travels, and you're trying to connect the dots and figure out what it means. And it's
Rocket
just more,
ship, lollipop, lightning, fire.
Right. It's like, all right, what's your interpretation of that one? This one is up for interpretation, I think, but not as many emojis. Trey Lance simply had 3 emojis of fingers being crossed on the picture of Carthon. Does that mean? It said, by the way, that he's posting well wishes to colleagues and teammates with fingers crossed message, that it may just be an expression, like wishing you luck. You got the fingers crossed, like, wishing you luck.
And they already did the Mega Millions. Someone won that?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not that.
It's not that.
It's not that.
And I think Trey,
I
Trey Lance is probably one of the guys, if I think of all the people in the world that could benefit from the Mega Millions, Trey Lance would probably be lower on the priority list when it comes to not needing it.
He's low.
Makes decent money.
He's not playing a lot, but he's making a lot of money.
It's good work if you can find it.
Is this a situation? I mean, given Trey Lance's time at San Francisco, the injuries have obviously been an issue, hasn't come along as far as they hoped he would before the injury. Still looked like he was pretty rough around the edges. Is this Trey Lance trying to reach out to a ally, if you will, going to a different organization saying, maybe they'll trade me? Or is this just simply his weird way of saying good luck?
Yeah. See, I hate these things. It just, we read into all this social media stuff, all of this. Ooh, what's Trey trying to say? Hey, is he sending a message? And I wish that if Trey Lance wants to go to the Titans, if he wants to be traded from the 49ers, he would do it with words and not tiny pictures.
Right. Yeah.
Right. But
You would think.
this is how it goes now. You take the team that you're playing for off of your Instagram to send a message that you're unhappy with your situation, right? Like, we don't say, look, I'm not really feeling it anymore, so I'd like to get out of here. We just quietly remove the byline from our Instagram. I don't like it. It doesn't sit well with me.
The scrubbing of the social media stuff, I'm not a fan of.
Just be direct. Say what you mean. Tell me your feelings. Get it out there.
Well,
open communication is always better.
And that's not going to happen anymore. This whole game of, and Kyler did this with scrubbing the social media. We've seen so many players do this. I'm always curious if this is a tactic that an agent says, you know what, go ahead. Or if it's one of those things of even the agent or your representation is like, come on, dude, let me do my job. You don't need to go this route. Because I will never comment about someone's money and what they're worth, because you know what? You're playing this sport, a very brutal sport. Go get yours. 100% go get yours. But the way of going about it sometimes makes me scratch my head. And this is one of those things. And I, for a second, I don't want to make it sound like Trey Lance, just by putting these 3 fingers crossed emoji, is him wanting out of San Francisco. Because you got to think about it. He's been there for 2 years and has really not even been available for 2 years.
But come on, he knows what he's doing too.
Oh, I think so. I think so. Especially with, if he doesn't have any clarity of, oh, by the way, I was just wishing a friend good luck, by the way. Don't read into this. Or you can even laugh like it's amazing. People are, because I saw this on CBSSports.com. So it's not just like I stumbled across this on Instagram and now I'm making my own observation. Like, this is actually a story on CBSSports.com. I'm trying to figure out what Trey Lance meant by that. But he's only been there for 2 years, and I can't imagine that he feels so alienated with the organization because he's physically unable to play. You're telling me that Jimmy Garoppolo goes down and you had both Brock Purdy and Trey Lance available, that you're not going to roll with Trey Lance? Yeah, you are. You're like, all right, it's time for the young pup to learn even more.
Or is he that unsettled by the way Brock Purdy's playing?
Well, and that's the other question, though. Is Brock Purdy's performance here as of late, and maybe how the organization is embracing this moment for Brock Purdy, cause for concern with Trey Lance?
Yeah.
And if that is, boy, that to me speaks volumes of Trey Lance.
I think the Titans would be really dumb to take Trey Lance at this point.
Well, you don't know what you have.
Well,
and you're going to have to give up a lot because the Niners aren't going to be willing to just – because, look, Garoppolo's going to free agency next year. Can you keep him around? Sure, but he's going to free agency. So that's going to cost you something. All of a sudden you've realized, hey, with the most valuable use of Mr. Irrelevant in the very last pick in the NFL draft, we're getting something out of this. This is great. But do we believe that the Niners organization, looking in the long term, are thinking, yeah, Brock Purdy's our guy? I have a tough time sort of
unless he wins
separating.
the Super Bowl.
Well, yeah, and then he's got a little leverage too, but I have a tough time separating the Brock Purdy story right now to Brock Purdy being the guy for years to come. Now, as you point out, if he continues to ride sort of a heater, and look, the Niners are built in a way that are going to make a lot of quarterbacks, even somewhat average quarterbacks, look good with what they have. But if
Trey Lance didn't look that good at the start of the year.
But they also didn't have Christian McCaffrey at the beginning of the year either. But if you look at these upcoming games, and this is a big one with Dallas this weekend, if not only the Niners win, but they win because Brock Purdy was big time, okay, you start to maybe see something there. And, I mean, heaven forbid they win a Super Bowl, and Brock Purdy is named your Super Bowl MVP.
I called it.
I
called it 2 months ago.
Do you have that MGM ticket, by the way?
Did you write it? Did you write it on the board, Jimmy?
I should have.
Yeah, it's not.
That doesn't count then.
But Robbie can back me up. I told him, and I've told him many times. So
I think it'd be interesting, and it would create a pretty big discussion about what you want to do at that position. But the bottom line is Trey Lance hasn't played that much football to where I would think he is
even in college. He hasn't played that much football.
And so, from your point, it would be way more risky for the Titans to have to go all in on an unknown, regardless of how your new GM feels about him, because you would have to give up a lot to make that trade.
Yeah, that's a good point too. I'm just looking at it from the way they play the game perspective, right? What do the Titans need at quarterback? They need a slightly better Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah. They need Ryan Tannehill from 2 years ago.
Right. They need a guy who's serviceable with his legs and doesn't turn the ball over. Actually might be a better option for them to go after the 49ers' other quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo, right? Like Trey Lance brings you big flash, big reward, possibly, but also
lack of experience
and potential huge downside in the form of turnovers and unknowns. I don't think there's any way the Titans should go after Trey Lance.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. I think we agree there, because regardless of what people thought that post on Instagram was, and again, it might just be as simple as him wishing his guy a luck. It could very well be it. But if it's mutual interest, I would have to assume it's more interest on Trey Lance's part than it would be with the Titans, because you're a GM and you're trying to set up the franchise, make the right moves. Those first major moves you make in the offseason set the tone. This would be highly risky. And I don't even know if the Niners would be a willing trade partner. I don't think they would be. I don't think they would be, because they don't know what they have in Trey Lance yet. I think they appreciate what they're getting out of Brock Purdy right now. And I think there's discussions about what Brock Purdy could be in the future. But I don't think there's one person in that organization that has completely turned the page on Trey Lance. Because if you have, that's bad business too.
Well, how do you know?
Yeah.
I mean,
that evaluation is inconclusive as it gets.
I mean, he played something like 18 games in college.
Mm-hmm. Remember they had like the one game in the fall, and it was basically like the Trey Lance showcase, which he didn't fare all that well in either.
And then he got hurt at the start of this season,
Yeah.
so he's still a mystery. I mean,
yeah,
like
Niners are good, by the way, but you know who they lost to?
The
Bears. They lost to the Bears. That monsoon opening week was good.
But
first pick.
I really don't like the
Now Lovey took care of that for us.
Emoji only.
Yeah,
Instagram.
I hope
Twitter
that I'm with you.
posts.
I hope that's not what it is. I truly hope that's not what it is. Before we get to Sarah Baker Hansen, let us welcome in Jimmy Allen joining us here in Omaha. What's up, Jimmy?
Morning, boys. How are we?
Good.
What's up?
Hey, I just first of all, you guys took both of my hot takes. I was going to say that the Titans probably should go get Jimmy Garoppolo over Trey Lance. But I mean, this coaching staff and this franchise was already out on him before the season started. They're going up to their star players and saying, "Hey, listen, we know he's way behind the curve, but we need this locker room to be all in because we sold the entire farm to this guy that played 8 minutes of Division II college football, and by the way, has probably the worst arm in the NFL right now."
Jimmy, it was FCS. Be fair.
Have you seen when your highlight film is you underthrowing wide receivers at the FBS level? I have concerns about my GM trading away the entire future of the franchise to go get a guy. But when your head coach is walking up to guys and saying, "Hey, listen, this isn't going to be as good as it was, but we need to play this guy before the season even starts," bad luck. But in case Mike Vrabel and anybody in Tennessee is listening, he's actually great. You should come get him as soon as possible. He'll change your franchise forever. Thanks, boys. Have a good morning.
All right, talk to you later, Jimmy. Jimmy Allen, after hours, right here on 1620 The Zone.
Oh yeah, he enjoyed his shout out.
Yeah, baby.
He listens.
All right,
good dude, great dude.
Speaking of great people, we're going to talk. Oh, I'm hungry. You hungry?
Oh yeah,
I'm hungry.
Never not hungry.
All right. Sarah Baker Hansen, we have not talked to her yet to start off the new year, so she will join us. Also, we got Steve Sipple this hour as well as Mornings with Sharp and Handley continues. 1620 The Zone.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley returns in minutes on 1620 The Zone. Live from the Host Coffee Studio, this is 1620 The Zone. 1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Time-Saving Traffic Center. We have a couple of accidents to report, starting with one along Highway 370 westbound at 66th Street, so please be cautious if you are in that area. Then there's also an accident on the exit ramp of eastbound I-80 near 60th Street, so please be cautious if you are in that area as well. Along Industrial Road, things are slowing down quite a bit from 149th to 144th. Then on Dodge, be prepared for some slowdowns from 94th all the way to 62nd. Then on the interstates, I-80 and I-680 are both experiencing some minor slowdowns all the way through. Drive slow, drive safe, wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott. This time-saving traffic was brought to you by IBEW Local 22.
Looking for a career, not a job? IBEW has immediate openings for residential electricians. You'll receive top pay, fully funded family health care, and retirement benefits. Invest in yourself with IBEW Local 22. Call Michael at 402-810-0789.
Omaha Maverick basketball is in the middle of conference play and scheduled to make a run this season. Come see all the action at Baxter Arena as your Omaha Mavericks try to rise to the top of the Summit League. Let's pack the Baxter. Get your Omaha Maverick men's and women's basketball single game tickets for all upcoming Summit League action at the Baxter Arena box office by calling 402-554-MAVS or at omavs.com/tigs.
The Zone Inbox is brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Email me, Connor Happer, with the Connor Happer Show at Connor, CONNOR, at 1620thezone.com. Send me your love, your hate, and maybe a few hot takes. The Zone Inbox, presented by Equitable Bank.
French food, and not just small portions and high prices. Les Voltaire is anything but. Come visit Omaha's own little corner of France for mouth-watering appetizers and entrees, plus melt-in-your-mouth desserts. Dinner with friends, special occasions, entertaining clients, or just chilling with French wines and craft cocktails with your favorite someone. Les Voltaire will make you feel right at home, just like they've been doing for more than 2 decades. Les Voltaire just off 156th and West Dodge Road in the Pepperwood Village, and at lesvoltaireomaha.com.
Give your business a whole host of options with Host Coffee. The most impressive selection of office coffee, water options, healthy food options, and vending technologies. Host Coffee, serving you since 72. Be a part of the Host Coffee team today. If you'd like to work for a trusted and loyal family-owned company that understands the needs of working families, Host Coffee has your opportunity. Apply at hostcoffee.net.
From basketball to volleyball, baseball to softball, soccer, tennis, and so much more, the Creighton sports season is packed with action. The 1620 The Jays podcast, presented by Barry Law, covers it all. Each week, we visit with Blue Jay athletes and coaches to hear their stories and document their climb through the Big East Conference. The 1620 The Jays podcast drops each Friday morning and is found at 1620thezone.com and all major podcast platforms. Just search 1620 The Jays. Covering all things Creighton Blue Jays, it's the 1620 The Jays podcast, presented by Barry Law from 1620 The Zone.
Shop Woodhouse Place Hyundai and Nissan, 144th and Giles. KOZN, Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs. And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
Halftime brought to you by Hearth Cigars and Pipes Lounge, just off 680 and 48th Street next to Cubby's. It's Hearth Cigars and Pipes Lounge.
I loaded up in the 8 o'clock hour, efforting Sarah Baker Hansen, but we might have had a scheduling conflict, so we will try. But we will be talking also to Steve Sipple in about 20 minutes. Make sure you get your questions in for Ask Us Anything. We will be reading those at 9:30, and one of you will win a gift card to Oscars. Enjoy some great wings and pizza. Oh, that sounds good.
Charbuff, baby.
Charbuff is the only way to go. I used to eat wings a different way until I discovered Charbuff, and now it's just like, I don't know if I can eat it any other way.
You sounded like a TV infomercial, right?
It was.
I
Yeah.
used to eat wings a different way.
Yeah, that's true.
I ate them raw.
I'd gladly tell my
and
story.
after I almost died,
I would. I told you guys about the Monday Night Football when I was at an Applebee's and they were pink.
Yeesh.
You would think that I would
medium rare wings.
Yeah, you would think I would never eat a wing.
Yeah, I'm
in
looking
my
to lose
life ever
10
again.
pounds. I was wondering if you could help me.
Yeah. Can I get that salmonella, please? Thank you. Talking about, January is always popular for dieting and whatnot. Maybe I wouldn't recommend the salmonella route or the undercooked poultry. That's not good.
The E. coli diet's not the way to
It's
go.
not good.
I hated running so much, I gave myself food poisoning.
Yeah. Sometimes when you're trying to churn out multiple wings, though, I guess quality can get overlooked, but not with our friends at Oscars because those.
No, they cook their wings.
They're about as good as you're going to find. They're
like anywhere.
Yes.
Not just here, but like anywhere.
I've traveled the highways and byways, and they're damn good, and the pizza ain't bad either. So.
Been everywhere, man. Like Johnny Cash.
So feel
Oscars
free to
gets
ask
it
us
done.
anything. You can ask us anything. We'll read those at 9:30. Just get your questions in, Jimmy at 1620thezone.com. So, John, I'll ask you and Jimmy, and as we continue to look at sort of the second half, and I think it's probably right around halftime, not only on the show today, but halftime of the college basketball season. And it's Gary brought this up. I get frustrated with it too. I think Coach Mack does with that weird, quirky thing in the Big East where they you play and then you have 8 days off before you play your next game. And we were talking about it yesterday. It's a lot of the Big East teams will actually try to, schedule a non-conference opponent.
Stick in a non-con.
I remember Creighton played Truman one year because they're like, well, we need somebody, and they were willing to play him. So, and people are like, oh, you're playing Truman. Well, they were available. They were looking to play. But Creighton getting through this stretch of conference games, I think first and foremost, we've learned, if you didn't already, which if you didn't, shame on you, but you've learned how truly important Ryan Kalkbrenner is. I mean, I think that goes without saying. But this sort of lack of aggressive play when Kalkbrenner was out, which it was for Creighton to sort of weather the storm while Kalkbrenner was out, you needed a little bit more of that. as I always say, a little bit more of the dog, a little bit of that dog in him. And, Mac even said after, I think the loss to Marquette or Arizona State, I don't know, they kind of ran together, kind of blur together, but, talked about just being very tentative when it came to having opportunities to get to the rim with the backcourt, dribble drive penetration, all of that. And it's amazing as you've watched Creighton, you go all the way back to the 22nd of December when they snapped that 6-game losing streak. They beat Butler, and you saw more of a complete team. You had Kalkbrenner back. He was somewhat limited as he was working back from, a non-physical injury. Then you had kind of a break in the schedule where you played Butler, DePaul. The DePaul team, by the way, who beat Xavier last night. We got a really, really interesting stat on that, by the way, too.
Yeah, Matt DeMarinis put that out.
That was good.
Fun.
Not gonna be the next stat after we, give away the booty.
Yeah, when did we give away the booty?
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
No.
Okay, cool.
After I'm not supposed to say after.
It could be coming up.
one of the segments.
Yeah, it could be coming up. You never know. Just be ready.
Hope you remember that stat.
Yeah, I hope you remember the stat. It had something to do with Husker basketball. I'll just say that. Anyway.
And not the 6.9 inches of snow Josh Peterson predicted.
We're going to fall short of that. Nobody likes to fall short of a 6.9.
No. Unless you're talking earthquakes.
Yeah, that's true. That's a very good point. But Creighton maneuvers some winnable games. They get the confidence back. Then you get into that stretch against UConn, Xavier, Providence. I'll throw in Butler just simply because Creighton had not won at Hinkle Fieldhouse in 5 of their recent attempts. So you throw that in there too for good measure. So during that stretch, they lose to UConn, who, by the way, they're on the struggle bus right now. Xavier, who lost to DePaul last night, but Xavier's good. Okay, I don't think and UConn's good too. I'm not trying to say they're bad, but they're kind of in a funk. Xavier loses an inexplicable one to DePaul last night. But that Providence win was huge. Butler, they did exactly what they were supposed to do. So you get through that stretch at 2-2. You look at where Creighton currently stands. They get ready to sort of resume Big East play on Wednesday, the 25th, taking on St. John's. Then you get Xavier again at home. That's the pink out game. At Georgetown, Villanova, at Seton Hall. Like it clearly sort of opens up. It's a little less taxing on Creighton compared to what they had over that 2-week stretch. I think that game next Wednesday is going to be very telling. And really I'll go as far as saying that those next 2 games, because you've got a team like St. John's playing them at home and then playing another home game against Xavier, having back-to-back home games there when Creighton resumes. Coming out of that weekend, I think you're going to know all you need to know. But John, I'll ask you this. When you look at Creighton, let's assume that they are a team that they do make the NCAA tournament. They don't have, any type of free fall or any bad losses from here on out, and they get themselves into the tournament comfortably. Is this a team that you feel is as dangerous in the tournament as we were talking about back in October?
I think some of the shines come off, certainly. And as you hinted at, it all depends on the health of Ryan Kalkbrenner, right? Like, is he healthy? Is he playing well? Because if those 2 things are intact, Kalkbrenner's healthy and playing well, then yeah, this team can beat just about anybody in the country. I think they showed that early on in the season with, how many ever top 25 wins they had to open the season. So while some of the shine has come off, I think a lot of that was while Kalkbrenner was out with that illness. However, it does give you pause, because what happens if he gets into foul trouble?
Mm-hmm.
What happens if he picks up a little bit of a knock along the way and has to miss a game here or there, or he's out for a second half or something like that? It's a totally different team. And when you rely on a single piece, the way that they do on him to keep things moving and to protect the rim, especially.
Yeah.
I mean, it's tenuous. That's tough. That's a rough spot to be in. So yeah, I think they are as dangerous as the team we saw at the beginning of the year. But I think the weakness there is the depth, and then there's a single point of failure with that team, which is a big problem.
I'm glad you brought up the depth, because I do feel like getting that victory over Providence was huge. Being able to at least get one win against the three between Providence, Xavier, and UConn was going to be big going forward. But right now you're looking at a team that's 11-8, 5-3 in conference play. They're 2 games out of first. You still have, a lot of work in front of you, but you've got a lot of good opportunities in front of you to see a little bit more about what this team is. What I'm hoping to see from Creighton is something that, going with the bench production, and as you talked about that, I think is one thing. But another guy that I think has been interesting here as of late, especially against Butler, but a guy that when you even watch the loss to Xavier, is Ryan Nembhard. Nembhard is one of those guys that he's going to give you some points. He's a guy that I think, I don't want to say 100%, but I think you feel is going to make a play more times than not. But why I hesitate is, and I'll use that Xavier game as an example, where there's just still that tendency to make some careless decisions.
Yeah.
There's that propensity to turn the ball over in some key moments.
Sort of living on the razor's edge.
It is. Yeah, it is. I love the game that he had, the double-double he had against Butler. But, I mean, it's Butler compared to Xavier, all right? He's a guy that in this next stretch, if his game is a little bit more stable, I think that bodes very well. I feel like Trey Alexander is getting right. I feel like you're getting more consistent play out of him. He's getting to the rim. He's finding ways to score. I don't worry about Ryan Kalkbrenner because, as you said, as long as he stays healthy, has no ill effects of what he was dealing with in December, he's staying on the floor. He's not. And this is the thing I love about Kalkbrenner is he's so hard to get into foul trouble because he's such a disciplined big man defender. He knows when to leave his feet. He knows when to keep him planted. He knows how to defend that as good as anybody's you're going to see. Now, are there going to be a couple of games that maybe the officiating is a little bit more touchy where he gets, banged for a few fouls? Sure, that could happen. When you're living in the paint, it's going to happen at times. But I trust him to stay in games a lot longer than most big men in that position. And I don't want to put the entire. I don't want to make it sound like I'm putting the entire season in what Creighton could do in the tournament on Ryan Nembhard. But what I would say about Nembhard is if he is a guy that you're getting more stable play from, if he's doing a lot less of the bad, better decisions, more careful, more value with the basketball, how big that could be for this team going forward into postseason. Because everyone else, you kind of feel like you know where they are, what you're going to get from them. Like Arthur Kaluma was another guy that during that losing streak, like midway through that losing streak, he was wildly inconsistent. But now you're seeing him kind of stabilize his game. He's starting to look like that player that we all saw in that Kansas game in the tournament that we saw in the postseason. So you've seen guys sort of ride that roller coaster a little bit. Mm-hmm. Nembhard to me is one that I feel like it's there. I feel like he's close. What he showed against Butler was what I would assume Mac and that coaching staff are saying that's more like it.
You're right.
We get that out of him. I'm not saying he has to have a double-double every night, but you get more calculated, more careful play. Not saying, hey, be pedestrian with the basketball, but less careless. You see less careless play out of Ryan Nembhard, to me, is kind of an X factor for this team going forward.
Well, I think just comparing last year's team to this year's team, I think the addition of Baylor Shireman was the right move. And look, he's
and I don't mention him because
he's filled up the stat sheet.
Yeah.
He's done what he was expected to do coming in. But there's just a difference. Like last year with Hawkins, he glued everything together. Right. He filled in all the gaps where everybody else maybe was a little deficient. He would just fit right in there and fill that role. And for some reason, look, Shireman has produced, right? He's getting points. He's getting rebounds. He's playing a ton of minutes.
Yep.
He's doing what he was supposed to do, but it's just different. It doesn't feel like he's filling those spaces in between the way Hawkins did, even though Hawkins wasn't producing stats the same way. It just looks different, right? Am I off there?
No, you're not. And the thing is, when I go back to this team, when they rattled off the run in Maui and they fall just short in the final. It's Arizona. It's a good team. They come back, almost pulled that thing off. Felt great about this team. Felt like, okay, they're, for the most part, sort of validating what a lot of people felt about them in the preseason. Then we get to that losing streak. You take Kalkbrenner out of the equation. You're like, okay, let's see what some of the young guys can do. Let's see what a Freddie King can do. All right, are you getting any quality minutes out of Mason Miller? And this is what I and you said this earlier, I'll give you credit because I totally agree with this. I'm kind of putting a lot of emphasis on Ryan Nembhard and having more consistency, but you need something out of the bench. You have to have something out of the bench. And we didn't see that during that losing streak. But I just felt like as each loss sort of piled up, you're wondering, at least I was, wondering about the state of mind, wondering about the confidence level of this team. And at some point, even when you realize the talent that this Creighton team has, you're not getting the result night in and night out. That seeps into you. That seeps into your overall confidence. And at some point, you're starting to think, man, this thing is on the verge of disaster, considering where this team was talked about at the beginning of the season. And, just using your own eyes, knowing what this team is capable of, yet they're not winning basketball games. I get it. Major part of your team is not active. And yes, Kalkbrenner, best player on the team. I have no problem saying that. Most important player on the team.
Oh, yeah. There's no doubt about that.
They were so close to this thing really coming off the tracks. And yet they've weathered that. So now you have a chance to sort of reset. You get through that stretch, and you're going to get a real true idea of what this team is capable of doing. And so it's interesting from the first half of the season for Creighton. It's gone from, this could be like one of the biggest, like epic, like failures, considering what this team was supposed to be, to now, at least I am thinking, okay, this is starting to look a lot more like I thought it could, with the caveat of, boy, that bench still makes me nervous.
It certainly does. Because
remember the depth they were supposed to have. It was supposed to be a very deep team. We were talking about that the other day.
And not just Kalkbrenner. What happens if a Nembhard goes down? What happens if a Trey Alexander goes down? Right? Then who do you fill in with? Right? It's a very, very strong starting five, and Farabella's played pretty well lately. So you've got your six deep. And after that, it's a whole lot of question marks. And when one of those front five went down, we saw what happened to this team. So it is imperative that they stay healthy, I think, to keep those goals of, second weekend stuff in the NCAA tournament intact.
Because if you're not, and I'm glad you brought up Farabello, because he's going to get your most minutes off the bench. But are you getting quality minutes from the standpoint of where Mac feels like he can ill afford to give some of these guys a rest? Okay, right now, look, every college basketball player, at least the majority of them, in programs like this are in great shape in January. You start to get to February, you start to get into postseason play where you're playing back-to-back days, like in the conference tournament. Like that fatigue, the toll of the season, that can weigh on you. If you're not having the luxury to go a couple deep on the bench, at least from a standpoint of you feel like you can do that and not really miss much, that puts a lot of pressure on those guys. That's another concern, is will they have logged too many minutes to where that fatigue starts setting in as you get to the end of February?
It also becomes just a math problem, right? Like, you can't think like this as a coach, obviously, or a player. But the longer you're on the floor, the more chance you have of coming down on a foot, rolling an ankle, falling out of bounds, maybe injured a wrist diving into the chairs or something like, the more you're on the floor, the more chance you have of coming up with an injury. And like I said, you can't think about that as a player or a coach. You got to play the game the way you have the best chance to win.
Yeah.
But it's a fact that if you've got 5 guys and they are chewing up 35 minutes a game, then there's a higher chance that one of those guys is going to come up with a knock or an injury of some kind, just for the simple fact that they're out there so long. And you've only got Farabello, who's getting more than 10 minutes a game off the bench. So you're giving yourself a very good chance that one of those guys is going to come up with either a stress-related injury, a fatigue-related injury, or just a general injury because they're playing so many minutes.
Yeah, it's something to keep your eye on for sure. And this week is probably very, very beneficial for this group in particular, probably more so than any other team in the Big East. All right, we are going to change over to some Husker football. I mentioned recruiting weekend going on, and also want to get into the speed element of this roster too. Steve Sipple will be joining us from Husker Online. He is up next here on Mornings with Sharp and Handley, 1620 The Zone.
Gary Sharp, Nick Handley, and Jimmy Chavez. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Weekdays 6 to 10. On 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Mornings on 1620 The Zone is brought to you by MD West One Orthopedics, Neurosurgery, and Spine. 1620 The Zone wants you to win Gary's booty. Whoa, wait, what? Win $100 or more every weekday on Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Listen during the 6 and 8 o'clock hours for Gary and Nick to give you their stat of the day. Then during the 7 and 9 a.m. hours, listen for the cue to call, know the stat, and win a buttload of cash. Answer it correctly, and Gary's booty gets even bigger. Yep, we'll keep adding $100 to the booty bank till the correct answer's given on air. Win your share of Gary's booty on Mornings with Sharp and Handley with 1620 The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast from the Godfather's Pizza Weather Center and KETV News Watch 7 on 1620 The Zone.
Still a chance for a few flurries and brief light snow showers early Thursday. Otherwise, expect cloudy, breezy, and cool conditions with northwest winds gusting 20 to 30 miles per hour, highs around 30. I'm meteorologist Sean Everson from KETV News Watch 7.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley, brought to you by MD West One Orthopedics, Neurosurgery, and Spine on 1620 The Zone.
1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Time-Saving Traffic Center, we have a couple of accidents to report, starting with one along Highway 370 westbound at 66th Street, so please be cautious if you are in that area. Then there's also an accident on the exit ramp of eastbound I-80 near 60th Street, so please be cautious if you are in that area as well. Along Industrial Road, things are slowing down quite a bit from 149th to 144th. Then on Dodge, be prepared for this. Time-saving traffic was brought to you by IBEW Local 22.
Does great pay, fully funded medical benefits, and a solid retirement sound good to you? IBEW has immediate openings for journeyman electricians. Invest in yourself with IBEW Local 22. Call Bob at 402-980-7596.
Creighton Sports Update. Creighton women's basketball is back at DJ Sokol Arena tomorrow as they host the Villanova Wildcats. Tip-off is set for 8 p.m. Limited tickets are available online at gocreighton.com/tickets. That's Creighton versus Villanova tomorrow at 8 p.m. And that's your Creighton Sports Update.
1620 The Zone proudly supports Creighton Athletics.
What does it feel like to file with TaxSlayer and get your guaranteed maximum refund? It feels like the last level of a video game, facing off against the final boss who stands between you and your refund.
All your refund is belong to me.
Using the power of TaxSlayer like a secret power-up he doesn't see coming.
Only the most tax confident can defeat me.
Throwing your laptop at his video game face and watching him crumble into a giant pile of shiny coin tax refunds.
Oh, not fair. You use TaxSlayer.
Save up to 80% when you file with TaxSlayer. Start for free.
Dad, I don't feel good.
I'll grab the Vicks DayQuil Kids Honey.
Isn't DayQuil just for parents?
Actually, Vicks DayQuil Kids Honey is just for kids, specially designed to treat kids' most bothersome cold symptoms quickly with a honeylicious tasting flavor kids like.
You know what else kids like?
DayQuil Kids Honey first, then video games.
Deal.
Vicks DayQuil Kids Honey, the kids' honeylicious daytime coughing, congestion, stuffy head, stuffy nose medicine. Safe for ages 6+.
Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. EquitableOnline.com.
Now back to mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Oh, this is old school, ladies love. I remember my brother listening to this in his 85 Mustang. Yeah. Yep.
Whoa.
Glad
we did that.
You had to get the
That's a
bleep in.
hard beep.
I was worried about that
That's
one.
a hard
Well,
beep.
see, it's in the wall, so if it's in the wall, it's safe.
Yeah, okay, good.
Radio
Hot take,
term.
by the way, hot take. Best LL Cool J song is this one, Bad. It's great.
You don't like Mama Said Knock
Oh,
You
that's
Out?
a good one. That's a good one. But I feel like everybody's going to go with that one. I don't know how many people appreciate Bad the way they should. One guy that I feel confident will appreciate that tune right there is one Steven Sipple joining us. Senior writer covering Nebraska on 3. Huskers Online. What's up, Sip? Sip, were you a Ladies Love Cool James fan?
Not really. I mean, I like Mama Said Knock You Out better, but I'm not. I don't know. I like Dre.
Yeah, okay, you're a Dre guy.
Oh,
Okay. I got
Sip.
you.
Kindred spirits, my man.
Yeah, I like Dre. How are you guys doing?
Good, man. Did you have you been able to get out and about? How is it? How is it down there in Lancaster County?
Okay. I'm not. I'm. People who know me know I'm notoriously surly about this discussion. Yeah, there's snow and it's January, so there's. Yeah, it's not perfect, but we're in Nebraska and that's it. So it's not. It's not terrible though.
Yeah.
We've got some nice glaze.
Oh,
it's like a glazed donut. It's like a glazed donut.
That sounds all right. It's good recruiting weather, is what you're saying.
Not bad. I wouldn't think I think a recruit would see this as it's kind of pretty.
It's pretty. I like that. Now, Sip, between Gary, because Gary keeps trying to drive this conversation, and I saw you tweet this out too, as Jeff Sims has been welcomed to the 1890 initiative of basically saying Casey is also locked in, game on. Competition for that position. And I think as we get into spring, there's going to be a lot of conversation, and not necessarily saying by you or by members of the media, but as fans kind of dive into the spring conversation, you feel like we're gonna start hearing people make cases, even for ones who don't know Jeff Sims, are going to make cases for why Jeff Sims should start or why Casey Thompson should start. Are we getting close to that?
Yeah, it's been sort of a secondary conversation, or even not even secondary, just down the way a little bit, because a new coaching staff. There's been a lot going on, but eventually we're going to get to a quarterback competition. I don't think it'll be in the spring because Casey has had shoulder surgery, and the way his father Charles characterizes it to me, or did a few weeks ago, was that Casey might be throwing midway through the spring, but probably not practicing. That the plan for Casey is to get back throwing in the spring, but be full go, going into June, May, June, July, which overlooked part of college football, probably football in general. But listen, it's not like Nebraska is inactive in May, June, and July.
Right.
There's pretty organized activity over there. And Casey wants to be ready for that, and then get a rhythm, and then take it into August when it's game on. I mean, it'll be game on. I find the conversation really interesting right now, where a lot of people are not, I don't know how many, but there's enough that I've noticed that sort of assume that Sims evolves into the starter.
Yeah.
Well, I think, and I know Casey, and I know his dad, I know Charles really well. And they're not going to Casey's not going to just let the guy take the job. I mean, in fact, Casey should be the guy going in. He was the starter. You typically don't lose your starting spot to injury. He did so much last year for the program and playing through a lot of pain. I'm just going to be that voice for Casey where he makes sure he gets the respect he deserves.
Mm-hmm.
Sip, I wanted to get your take on the Walter Rouse situation. Is this a sign of the times? Did Nebraska get pipped at the wire? I mean, what did you make of Walter Rouse saying, "Yep, coming to Nebraska"? Just kidding, Oklahoma.
What did I make? I don't think there's anything nefarious, and I don't think it's all that tricky. I think that it was close. It was a close race. I know, because I've talked to some people that said there was, the Oklahoma, I guess, let's put it this way. Oklahoma hammered away at the idea that Bill Beatonbaugh, their offensive line coach, is much more proven than Donovan Raiola. I think that was a factor in this. And you'd say, well, he knew that going in, and he knew that when he picked Nebraska, so why did it change Thursday and Friday? I think Oklahoma probably kept hammering it. I think it was probably a close race. I don't think this was I've been told this wasn't an NIL. This was a matter of Oklahoma swooping in with a better NIL deal. My read, and from what I've heard, it isn't that. I guess what I'm telling you, John, is I don't think it's particularly interesting I don't think Oklahoma did anything crazy at the end to get him. I think he changed his mind. Probably as simple as that. He just changed his mind in a close race.
Talking to Steve Sipple here on 1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com. Sip, another kind of interesting start to the week was not one but two players that had either entered the transfer portal, and one, of course, here locally, decided in spring, you know what, not for me, and Xavier Betts. And then Isaiah Garcia Castaneda entered the transfer portal early last season. Were you getting some wind that both, or at least one, would be returning to Nebraska and being part of the fold here coming up in the spring?
Certainly not any. I didn't hear anything like that about Garcia Castaneda.
Mm-hmm.
There's always a little speculation about Xavier Betts once he was, announced that he was in the portal.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's really surprising in some ways, in some respects, and really unsurprising in that this is a need. I don't think it's happening if Nebraska isn't just in a kind of a vulnerable spot at receiver. I think this discussion is just mainly about need. That's the critical word. You don't probably go in this direction unless you have to. And I'd say Nebraska has to with where they're at receiver right now. In that Xavier Betts. Okay, so you have Marcus Washington with 31 catches.
Yeah.
He's a good player. He's not a number one, though. He's not. I mean, I don't like saying it because it sounds kind of negative. He's a good player.
Mm-hmm.
But if he's your number one, that's not where you want to be. Maybe you could convince people that Billy Kemp is a number one type. He's not a prototypical number one type, though, in that he's 5'9", 172.
Yeah.
He's not an outside, 6'3", 210-pound speedster. You could say, yeah, he's your number one, I guess. And he has that sort of production. But I think when I think number one, I think more like a Xavier Betts. And I think Xavier Betts is the most talented player in the room now.
Right.
Now he's got it. There's a lot now that it's his talent. There's a lot that goes into the discussion other than talent, obviously. But he is proven, which you can't say that about many guys in the room outside Marcus Washington and Alante Brown, Bailey Kemp, Josh Fleeks. As far as returning players, though, it's pretty much Marcus Washington and Alante Brown, unless I forget somebody, which I don't think I am. So, neat. Garcia Castaneda, proven. Now, that was at New Mexico State largely.
Mm-hmm.
He left Nebraska October 11th. Now, New Mexico State's a different world than the Big Ten. So he's proven, but he still has a lot to prove in the Big Ten. But again, he did do it at the college level. They don't have a lot of that over there right now.
Sip real quickly on football too, with the weekend that Nebraska has, hosting a couple of prospects here. But more than anything, watching this roster come together under Matt Rule, you're seeing a lot of the words used like dynamic speed. It just kind of keeps coming back to speed. And I know there's probably a section of the fan base that is a little reluctant to embrace the overall speed of a roster, because that's kind of what, at least going into the Scott Frost era, it was going to be based around that too. When you kind of think about how Matt Rule and his staff and the amount of analysts are going about identifying talent, I mean, is it okay to maybe breathe a little bit and say, hey, this speed can still work in the Big Ten? And, it seems like these guys have a pretty solid plan about that.
Yeah, that's a good question. There's anxiety about it, or however you characterize it. I'd just say, think about Matt Rule's background.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, think about his coaching background, and also think about what he said about line play. I mean, he's a line coach.
Right.
He coached defensive line. He coached the D line at 3 different institutions. He is a trenches-oriented guy. He gravitates. He said that at the podium, that he gravitates towards linemen. That he feels more comfortable in that area. The speed of thing doesn't worry me one bit. Not one bit, because of the leader of the program. Is one of the things I liked about that hire was, hey, they got a guy whose background is in the trenches. And so I'm not worried about that at all. But he'll do what he has to do, I believe, to get them to a point where they're not just competitive in the trenches, but they can win regularly in the trenches. It's not right now. They're not. There's a lot of work to do, but I think he'll be oriented that way.
Hey, Sip, wanted to switch gears over to Nebraska hoops a little bit. Nick and I were talking about the win over Ohio State last night. And now we've learned that Juwan Gary pretty much done. He's going to have surgery on the shoulder. How do you think Nebraska fills those minutes that he was providing, and especially being second leading rebounder on the team? How would you like to see them go about that rotation?
Well, Denham Dawson did a good job last night.
Yep.
I mean, he was largely the answer to that question last night. Jamarcus Lawrence was in that discussion, I think. But Denham Dawson really kind of had a breakout last night.
Yeah.
He was assigned, sense the ball, Ohio State's best offensive player, and did pretty good job. And then made a few critical baskets that showed he's very athletic. He had those. He made those moves around the rim that we hadn't seen that from Denham Dawson. So that's largely it. It's a tough injury. I mean, learning last night that Juwan Gary is out, definitely out for the season. It's huge. I mean, this was a guy who used 9.5 points a game, 6.5 rebounds a game, had 18 and 11 at Minnesota, and had those 2 critical tip-ins to help Nebraska get over the top. And those guys, those additions, Griesel, Gary, and Bandamel, each of the 3 bring so much to the table. So, yeah, you took one out now. He's out. You can't. It'd be really hard to take another of those guys out.
Yeah.
You took Griesel out, who played through hip flexor issues last night. It was tougher than hell. Bandamel has had a rough go offensively the last couple of games, but man, his his energy defensively, his energy overall is critical. You got to have those guys. So it's kind of what it means to me is the margin for error or the margin for another injury is really low now. And it's a grind. You're going to Penn State, playing a tough physical team. A lot of these Big Ten teams are physical. It's a taxing league. So you know what? Your training staff and coaching staff, that's a big part of this, is trying to keep guys, doing what you have to do nutritionally, doing what you have to do in how you fashion your workout schedule. Do what you got to get them work, but you can't overdo it because there's just it's such an unrelenting league.
Steve Sipple again with Husker Online, joining us every Thursday. Sip, always appreciate you jumping on. Have a great rest of the week, my man.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
All right, thanks, Sip.
All right, when we return, we will give you another stat. Also, we mentioned one quarterback and maybe a cryptic response. Not so cryptic from one organization when it comes to Kirk Cousins, but would it behoove the Vikings to keep all options open for their signal caller position? We'll get into that and more here. It's Mornings Sharp and Handley, 1620 The Zone.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com with Gary Sharp and Nick Handley. It's time to win Gary's Booty. Be caller 4 right now at 402-951-1620. That's caller 4 at 402-951-1620. Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
The divisional round of the NFL playoffs finishes with a Sunday doubleheader. Hi, this is Scott Graham. Join me and the rest of our Westwood One crew for all the action. First, Joe Burrow and the Bengals take on Josh Allen and the Bills. Then it's a classic NFC showdown when the Dallas Cowboys meet the San Francisco 49ers. Coverage begins at 2:30 p.m. Eastern. From the wild card round all the way to Super Bowl 57 in Arizona, the NFL playoffs are right here.
If it's the NFL, it's on 1620 The Zone.
Listen to the Woodhouse Auto Family Blue Jay shoot-around and overtime shows. The Creighton men's basketball pregame and postgame shows on 1620 The Zone. The Woodhouse Auto Family Blue Jay shoot-around and overtime shows are also presented by Burton AC Heating, Plumbing, and More, by Barry Law, by Union Bank and Trust, and by DJ's Dugout. Before and after each Creighton game, exclusively on your home for the Creighton Blue Jays. 1620 The Zone, 1620 The Zone mobile app, and 1620thezone.com.
Dust. It's in the living room, the bedroom, and the bathroom. It's also in your lungs. Let's fix that, shall we? Duct Defense Midwest offers a comprehensive system that cleans, disinfects, filters, and purifies the air. They'll make your home healthier and improve the life of your HVAC system. So improve the health of your home and everyone in it. Go to cleanairradio.com right now for a special air duct cleaning offer for Zone listeners. Cleanairradio.com. Dust. It's in the living room, the bedroom, and the bathroom. It's also in your lungs. Let's fix that, shall we? Duct Defense Midwest offers a comprehensive system that cleans, disinfects, filters, and purifies the air. They'll make your home healthier and improve the life of your HVAC system. So improve the health of your home and everyone in it. Go to cleanairradio.com right now for a special air duct cleaning offer for Zone listeners. Cleanairradio.com.
Winning comes without a guarantee. Focus, discipline, and extraordinary effort make winning more likely. Sometimes our greatest wins come from major setbacks. Coming back from a serious injury is a win that requires teamwork. At Barry Law, we're in it to win it.
If you have been seriously injured in an accident, call Barry Law today. 402-999-7777.
Mr. Clean, Mr. Clean. I hate the struggle of tough, greasy messes on my stovetop. So I just wipe, and I'm done.
When I'm frustrated with stubborn bathtub soap scum, I just wipe, and I'm done.
Mr. Clean Clean Freak delivers an innovative cleaning experience with a powerful, deep cleaning mist that starts working on contact to break down tough messes in seconds.
Just
wipe,
done.
I always wanted to learn Spanish, but I never thought I'd have the time.
Then I discovered Babbel.
Babbel's lessons are fun. They only take like 10 or 15 minutes, and in 3 weeks, presto, you're starting to speak another language. Like magic.
I love that Babbel's lessons aren't just robots talking. They're voiced by native speakers, so you get the pronunciation just right. And they're designed by real language teachers, so you learn how to have real-world conversations, things you'll actually use.
It's incredible. After using Babbel, I'm ready to start having real conversations in French.
There's all kinds of ways to learn. Use Babbel's podcasts or games or videos. You can even join live classes with a language teacher.
If you want to learn a language, there's no faster, easier, better way than
Babbel.
Babbel.
Babbel. Babbel. Évidemment.
Go to Babbel.com to try for free. That's BABBEL.com. Babbel.com.
Woodhouse Chevy in Missouri Valley wants to remind you that car buying should be on your schedule. That's why you can shop either in person or online at WoodhouseGM.com. Check out Woodhouse Chevy's entire selection of new and used vehicles either in person or online. Get honest upfront pricing, schedule a test drive, value your trade, and complete the credit application. You can also chat with Woodhouse Chevy's knowledgeable, friendly staff. Experience the Woodhouse difference. Find new roads to Woodhouse Chevy in Missouri Valley or online at WoodhouseGM.com. The 2023 Creighton vs. Cancer Pink Out Jersey Auction is underway to raise funds for Hope Lodge, Nebraska. Hope Lodge, Nebraska provides free accommodations for cancer patients and caregivers, and a community that helps give patients access to the care that they need. Bid on exclusive Creighton men's basketball game-worn jerseys, signed memorabilia, and more. Underway now through Sunday night. Place your bid online at gocreighton.com/pinkoutauction. That's gocreighton.com/pinkoutauction.
And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone. It's time for The Deuce with Jimmy Chavez on 1620 The Zone. All the headlines you need in 2 minutes or less.
Let's try this again, shall we?
Yeah,
Speaking of stinky, did you see the first half of that Nebraska-Ohio State game last night?
I did. There you go, Jim.
That's better.
Like Buzz's girlfriend, woof.
Woof,
It was 22-21. It was like going back in time for all the wrong reasons. But hey, how about that second half? And how about them Huskers? Sam Griesel, 10 of his game-high 15 points in the second half. Nebraska rallies to beat Ohio State 63-60. And they held the Buckeyes to 36% shooting, season low 60 points, 18 points below its season average. The Fighting Freds are 10-9 overall, 3-5 in the Big Ten. And they now travel to Penn State Saturday for a tough road game in front of what could be a friends and family crowd in State College.
The Framley plan?
Exactly.
The Bryce Jordan Center.
Now let's liven it up a bit. Nebraska women's basketball rallies from an 8-point deficit entering the fourth quarter as they win on the road 71-64. Alexis Markowski, double-double, 19 points, 10 rebounds. They rallied down 9, and they were down close to 8-9 the entire game, and 8 going to the fourth quarter. Never count them out. They improved to 12-7, 4-4 in the Big Ten. They'll be back home at the PBA to host Maryland on Sunday. Cowboys signed kicker Tristan Vizcaino to their practice squad after Brett Maher's disastrous performance Monday night.
I thought we had a Jose Vizcaino sighting again. I was thinking of Harry Carey saying Vizcaino. Dang. Do you think they're related? Or is Vizcaino is it like Johnson? Like Smith?
Yeah, it's the Colombian Smith,
Okay.
probably.
That's
yeah.
what I was wondering.
Dykstra spelled backwards as Arksty. Vizcaino played in 3 games this season with the Cardinals and Patriots, made 2 field goal attempts and 3 extra points, and the Cardinals win over the Rams because that means nothing. Perfectly timed.
Ew.
Mike McCarthy, John Fossil sticking by Maher. Let's see how long that lasts. Let's see how long the Cowboys season lasts. If you believe Nick, Gary, and Scott Shanley, and Josh Peterson, they're going to win the Super Bowl.
Oh, whoa. I never said they'd win the Super Bowl.
All right, Nick's just giving me this weekend.
I said I think this game is going to be fantastic, and we will get into that. But I did not say they would win the Super Bowl.
And to be fair, Scott said, and he's right, and I believe him because, he actually played the game at that level. And he played for the Cowboys. And Scott said yesterday that this is their best chance in a long time to get it done. And he's right.
Chance.
It is, because the NFC is
It's there. It's there for them.
Right.
All right, you dropped the Harry Carey Vizcaíno. I got to give you my favorite announcer saying a name. It's Denny Matthews.
Rapid fire.
And at shortstop, Alcides Escobar.
Time and temperature brought to you by the parking spot at KCI. Easy to park,
when he
easy to spot.
I
the
love
parking spot at
the
KCI.
Denny Matthews.
He would do the I sound. I remember listening to him doing a Kansas City Cleveland game back when Cleveland had Grady Sizemore, and he's like, "Here's Grady Sizemore," just like the way. And then they were talking about like pitchers pitch backwards, and he's like, "And this guy pitches more sideways." What the hell does that even mean, dude?
We always used to joke because
Denny.
if you've ever been up in the box, Denny is on 435 before they're back from the first break of post game. So we used to joke in the years long before they got good. Of course, this was back when they were good, and so this was when they were bad before they were good. You're like, and it's caught. Royals win the World Series. Ryan will be back with the totals right after this.
Yeah, it was. It was like the most subdued championship call that you're going to hear, but it's very consistent with Denny Matthews, who is he's a legend. Legendary.
I can't wait
voice.
to hear him saying Jake Eisenberg joining us in the booth.
Here's Jake Eisenberg. It'll be a very
And now to
strong
call the
emphasis
fourth.
on Eisen.
Here's Jake Eisenberg.
In our final hour, I want to get back to this speed conversation with Nebraska because I understand there's a little bit of the maybe nervous tummy, maybe get a little bit of the bubble gut when you hear
segue. If you
speed,
Here we go again. We've opened the bathroom door again, folks.
No, you're not getting like the coffee pot percolators in your tummy. But I understand with like speed. What? Huh? But it was a reason I had asked Sip that question too. We'll get to that here in a moment. Real quickly, and we'll get into this if we have time. The vote of confidence, or just maybe not even the vote of confidence, but the fact that Minnesota said they expect Kirk Cousins to be their quarterback going forward. If I'm a Vikings fan right now, I think that's a mixed reaction of Kirk Cousins being your guy the following year. He will be 35 years old.
Are you serious? Wow.
Yeah. You like that?
Comes at you fast. I do like.
You like that?
Yeah.
He will account for it's roughly $34 million against the cap.
It's not a question though. It's you like that.
You like that? Especially when his voice cracked. That was the better one.
It's a statement. It's not a question.
If they were to extend, so here's the damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you move on from Kirk Cousins, you're still going to have a pretty decent cap hit. If you don't, and dare I even say extend Kirk Cousins, you get a little bit more immediate cap relief here in the next couple of years, which would be very, very important because you are entering a Justin Jefferson contract year after next season. And you could probably even start trying to work that out this upcoming offseason. Kirk Cousins right now, if you just looked at, remove the financials from the situation, at 35 years old, given where Minnesota was this year, and I know everybody has the last image of him going to the check down of the route that was 5 yards short of the first down marker. Do you feel like you take the financial repercussions and you move on? Or do you look to lock up probably the most important skilled position player you have right now in Justin Jefferson by extending Kirk Cousins and getting some cap relief here in the next couple of years?
Here's why I think he gets a 1-year extension. First of all, the quarterback class is not deep in the draft. It's top heavy. There are 3 that I think are going to go at the top of the draft, and then it's going to be a while. Mm-hmm. So you don't have like, oh, we can draft a guy and we'll just deal with the rookie mistakes maybe.
Yeah.
That's not an option. I don't think the quarterback free agent class is all that great.
Mm-hmm.
Is Tom Brady at 45 your answer? You're going to go after Brady and try to bring him to Minnesota when you're getting rid of your 35-year-old Kirk Cousins?
Oh,
I don't think so. And next on the free agent list is like Baker Mayfield, Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah, Garoppolo.
Like, are those the guys you like? Are they better than Kirk Cousins? Not
no,
really.
Probably not.
No. So I think it's a 1-year Band-Aid extension, and you maybe Like you take a flyer on somebody if you can get him later on, like a Tanner McKee from Stanford. He's kind of in the mold of what you're looking for. The drop back pro style, can chuck it deep to Jefferson. Because what the Vikings really need at this point is not like a better Kirk. They need a better defense.
Right.
That's what caused them to lose more than anything, was that the defense was awful late in the year. They were bad. So I think you'd rather at this point not rebuild from the quarterback spot, try to add some pieces on the defensive side of the ball and see if you can't band-aid that over. Draft a young quarterback, second, third round maybe, and let him be the understudy for a year or two. I think he gets an extension, and I think it's a no-brainer.
I'm so glad you brought up the Vikings defense, because that is going to be the stat to know coming up later this hour for your chance to win $200 of Gary's Booty, because we did not get a winner on our first go-round of this. So $200 of Gary's Booty is up for grabs. You need to know the number 31, because that is where the Vikings defense ranked in in yards allowed. They were 31st out of 32 teams. So when you say it wasn't all Kirk Cousins, there's a lot that had to do with the defensive side of the football. So know the number 31 is in the Vikings defense, ranked 31st in the NFL in yards allowed at 388.7. 31 is what to know. Going to get back to that speed conversation of Nebraska football. Matt Rule's recruiting it. They're trying to develop it. How will that look in a Matt Rule system compared to what we saw with what Scott Frost attempted? That and more as we get into our final hour. Here it is, Mornings with Sharp and Handley, 1620 The Zone. Hey, the NFL playoffs are heating up, divisional round going up, and with FanDuel, every play is a rush. New customers join today so you can bet the divisional round with $150 in free bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Just sign up with a promo code ZONE. That is promo code ZONE. In what bet would you make this weekend? Okay, we've got some good quarterback matchups. We've been talking a lot about the youngster, inexperienced Brock Purdy versus the more experienced seasoned, but somewhat snake-bitten postseason quarterback in Dak Prescott, and some other great ones. How about Jalen Hurts going up against Danny Dimes? There's a lot of great prop bets that you can go with. Different point spreads that you can look at. The player props are fun to kind of toy around with. And FanDuel, you can even combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with the same game parlay, all on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. So football fans, don't miss out. Place your first $5 bet to get $150 in free bets, win or lose, with promo code ZONE. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. 21 plus and present in Iowa. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable free bets. It expires in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com with Gary Sharp and Nick Handley. Live from the Host Coffee Studio, this is 1620 The Zone. 1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the time-saving traffic center. We have no accidents to report at this time, but you can't expect some slowdown from 90th all the way to 53rd along L Street. On Dodge, be prepared for a bit of a slowdown from 77th to 55th. And along Industrial Road, be prepared for just a little bit of slowdown from 149th to 144th. Drive slow, drive safe, wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott. This time-saving traffic was brought to you by Fernando's.
Thank you, Omaha. It's triple first-place wins for Fernando's. Fernando's is honored and grateful to you for voting them the best Mexican restaurant in the Best of Omaha and Omaha Choice Awards and Best Margarita in the Omaha Choice Awards. Fernando's, family-owned and community-served.
Hey, friends, Kent Pavelka here, back with John Higgins and the Rooferees at the Weather Guard showroom. I imagine there are a lot of people out there with really bad roofs waiting for the magic moment. When's the magic moment?
Depends on what type of roof you have. It depends on how old your roof is. I have a customer right now talking about waiting for that hailstorm. Now it's leaking. There's a time where you can't wait for that hailstorm forever.
When it comes time to replace your roof, your gutters, and siding, there's only one call to make. The Rooferees at John Higgins Weather Guard.
Woodhouse Chevy in Missouri Valley wants to remind you that car buying should be on your schedule. That's why you can shop either in person or online at woodhousegm.com. Check out Woodhouse Chevy's entire selection of new and used vehicles either in person or online. Get honest upfront pricing, schedule a test drive, value your trade, and complete the credit application. You can also chat with Woodhouse Chevy's knowledgeable, friendly staff. Experience the Woodhouse difference. Find new roads to Woodhouse Chevy in Missouri Valley or online at woodhousegm.com.
The brand new Dollar General Distribution Center in Blair is now hiring. Starting wage is up to $20.10 per hour with benefits including medical, dental, vision, 401k, and a $2,000 sign-on bonus. Apply today by texting DG Warehouse to 25000 or online at dollargeneral.com/career. Again, apply today by texting DG Warehouse to 25000 or online at dollargeneral.com/careers. Dollar General can't wait to have you become a team member at their brand new distribution center.
Dad, I don't feel good.
I'll grab the Vicks DayQuil Kids Honey.
Isn't DayQuil just for parents?
Actually, Vicks DayQuil Kids Honey is just for kids, specially designed to treat kids' most bothersome cold symptoms quickly with a honeylicious tasting flavor kids like.
You know what else kids like?
DayQuil Kids Honey first, then video games.
Deal.
Vicks DayQuil Kids Honey, the kids' honeylicious daytime coughing, congestion, stuffy head, stuffy nose medicine. Safe for ages 6+.
Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if a prescription is appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for full details and important safety information. Subscription required.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 90% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to 4hims.com/radio. At Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the biggest brands at 90% off. That's right, get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but 90% cheaper. It's the same medication you get from your doctor, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, 4hims.com/radio. That's 4hims.com/radio for your free online visit. FORHIMS.com/RADIO.
Shop Woodhouse Place Hyundai and Nissan, 144th and Giles. KOZN, Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs. Now back to mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Hey, be sure to get in your Ask Us Anything. 9:30, someone's got a shot to win a gift card to Oscars. And when we say ask us anything,
Preferably anything.
Yeah, more anything than like, hey, who do you think is going to fill the void of Juwan Gary, as we were talking about?
What do you
Yeah,
think
we
of
already
Matt
asked that
Rule
to Sid.
coaching the Huskers?
Yeah,
We already asked about that.
Yeah,
We
we
know
did.
the answer now.
Yeah.
He says Denham Dawson.
Denham Dawson, who gave some good minutes last night.
And hey, if he keeps doing after good hands, I'm for it.
That was sweet.
Even if they don't win, let me watch that for a while.
And he's got some size. Good dude. But I'm also Jamarcus Lawrence. I'm watching you, man. You got my
You're a
attention.
fan.
You got my attention. Big three. This is one. Big three.
And we've tried to give you material. We've done our best.
Yeah, there's been some
It's right there.
There's been some toilet humor, and I'm going to get to that here in a moment. Not toilet humor necessarily, but do you get?
You're going to get to the toilet.
Today's bodily function of the
Do
day.
you sometimes get the the nervous tummy that sometimes makes you have to go to the toilet? And we talk about speed as it relates to Nebraska football. But real quickly in the
Not the
J-Talk.
movie.
Actually, no, this is in the Equitable inbox. I got an email from Steve who says, interesting, he was talking about Creighton if they were getting into kind of the first half of the season takeaways as they get a little bit of a pause before they get back in action on Wednesday. Said, interesting that Mac said after the game Tuesday that Nemhard has been ill. That likely has affected his play. King played his best game since Kalk has returned. Getting quality minutes from him and crucial as we are getting minutes from him is crucial as we head down the stretch. Shyman has adjusted well to better competition. Need Alexander to continue to contribute. Need some production from Farabello and a little from Miller would also be nice. Mitchell is a liability His out-of-control turnovers are a constant, defense only from him. That's from Steve. Appreciate the email, Steve. Yeah, the Shireman adjusting to the competition, I do think it was something that was going to be really key coming out of the stretch, too. When you talk about playing like the best of this conference and seeing where Baylor Shireman has sort of emerged out of that. You know, he's given you good production offensively, but when you kind of put the whole game together defensively and what he can do in creating offense, I think that was also going to be a big development for him during the stretch too. So I think that out of everything Steve said right there, the Shireman adjustment, I think is a pretty good point to bring up out of all of that.
It's interesting though, because I don't remember that. Maybe it was there, but I don't remember it. A conversation about Ryan Hawkins having to adjust to a higher, and he's coming from a lower level than what Shireman was playing at. Hawkins was in D2 basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Shireman's coming from the Summit League, which is still Division I.
Yeah. There's some dudes. There's a couple of dudes in the Summit.
It's just interesting that we're having that conversation about, oh, well, it's taken Shireman a little time to adjust. When last year, I don't remember that with Hawkins.
Yeah, and when you are a scorer, and that's obviously what Baylor Shireman is, with the speed of each conference and what each conference identity is, and I would say there's always speed, long athleticism on the perimeter compared to what he was seeing in the Summit. I think that was going to definitely be an adjustment. But yeah, it's a good point. I think a good observation there by Steve. We are going to be talking with Brian Edwards, Major Wager, to wrap up the show as well. But again, get your Ask Us Anything over to Jimmy at 1620thezone.com. So speed, we just talked about at the Big East.
Yep, we did.
Nice smooth transition here.
You've done this before.
Yeah, smooth transition here, my friend. It was brought up yesterday by Gary as far as looking at the roster. And we were kind of talking about the lack of excitement of the very first winter conditioning video, which, by the way, for the record, which I love, did not show a lot of anything. You know, you had your couple obligatory weight room
Wasn't
scenes.
Jim Harbaugh like strutting through that high school?
Nope. You had nothing like that. You had Corey Campbell addressing the guys in the weight room. You had some sprints going on. You know, just it was like maybe a 30-second hit. Nothing that should really. Oh, hey, did you see who was in there? Oh, did you see what he's doing? Yeah, nothing like that.
So you're not drinking the Kool-Aid. You're opening the packet and kind of just licking inside.
Yeah. Okay. I'm making sure that it's still good.
Not like the jacked Casey Thompson photos from the weight room last year.
Yeah, I don't need to see Nash Hutmacher bench pressing a
Buick
trailer. You know, that does nothing for me. And I think as a fan base, I believe that we are. I'll go ahead and say it. I think we're desensitized.
We're over it.
Yeah,
I think I'm certainly over it.
I think a lot of people are. I think there's always going to be, out of 10 people, there's going to be maybe 2 that are still going to be like, hey! And I know people are like, yeah, right. And you're right. Get to spring, the number probably goes up to 5. But Gary brought up the speed element. And immediately I thought, ooh, when you talk about speed in this team, yes, what does that trigger when it comes to previous experiences with previous coaching staffs? And it's also, I think, it's more recent with Scott Frost, but remember the Calabrasca movement.
Ooh,
speed. Tyjon Lindsey, speed. Even Keyshawn's son, speed. Got to be fast guys.
What do you do, Jack?
Pac-12 speed. Now we're going to American Athletic Conference speed. Getting dudes in space. They don't have to be, tree toppers. They don't have to be 6'4", 6'5". We can get 5'9", 5'10" in. And those guys can just get in space, and they're going to run all over the Big Ten. As we've learned, that wasn't the case. And you even saw, I mean, give Scott Frost credit for this one. They realized, okay, there is a profile of wide receiver and skill position player that we were very successful with at Central Florida. That profile doesn't necessarily work now when it comes to stature, when it comes to size of our skill position players, mainly wide receiver.
I don't know. Wandale Robinson made it to the NFL.
And he did, and I think you always, for every, 6'1" plus guy, you wanted to have a little bit more of that all-around burner that you almost kind of get those guys to clear out some space, and then there you go. But remember how much the Duck R position was brought up.
Who's going to play Duck R?
Exactly. Like, that guy is 5'9", and he runs like a 4.4. Well, he's a great candidate for the Duck R. Did they even have the Duck R ever?
Sounds like a trophy.
I think they used
the Duck R.
So they tried to use that position in year one, and they would run those speed sweeps, the inside reverse, and it just got destroyed every time they tried it. It was an absolute disaster. And then outside of maybe a couple times in year two, I don't remember them running it at all.
They phased out of
3 years.
They phased out again. Good for Scott Frost. Even though he didn't want to adjust to the Big Ten, he wanted them to adjust to him.
You're saying the Big Ten didn't adjust to them?
They didn't, and he tried to. I'll give him credit. He tried to, from a personnel standpoint, look at maybe a different stature type of player to adjust to the Big Ten. But the Duck R position,
I forgot.
Rest in peace, Duck R. Rest in peace.
Yeah, I don't think Oregon has a Duck R anymore.
So when you think of speed, though, I remember a lot of those conversations of, the small guy in space. It's going to just put up points and points, stacks on stacks of points. It's going to be great. As we know, that wasn't always the case. And when there was points being put on the scoreboard, there was also points being given up. But I asked Sip this in the last hour about that word speed and how people might respond to it, but it's okay to be optimistic or to feel like it can work differently when you do hear a coach talk about speed. When you look at Matt Rule's track record, and I think Sip hit the nail on the head, where his expertise is with the line of scrimmage. It's one thing to have speed on a team, but when you have the personnel to get the most out of that speed, meaning you have guys that are going to open up that space for you, whether it is having...
That's the point.
Right.
Getting guys in space is great. You got to have someone who can create the space to get into.
You got to have a quarterback that can get those guys the football in space. You got offensive line that can protect said quarterback. You got the offensive line that can open up holes. You've got wide receivers, tight ends that are also able to help utilize that speed, whether them themselves are the quick guys or they've got the size. And it all starts with the offensive line. And that's why everything that this team has done in trying to build the roster, I think is going to continue to be very interesting, because speed is, think about Ohio State. Think about even Penn State. I mean, I know Michigan has this identity of being a lot more of a black and blue physical type team, but tell me Blake Corum ain't fast.
No, he's really fast.
You look at their wide receivers, like they've got speed. Okay.
But on the other hand,
but how they complement their speed with physical play.
Look at a guy like, he was injured most of the year, but Jackson Smith and Jigba, who coming into the season was consensus best wide receiver in the conference.
Yep.
His 40 times like over 4.5.
It's like 3.8.
No, it's over 4.5.
Yeah, no.
2.7.
He's not blazing fast.
No.
But you know what he is? Good football player. Knows where he's supposed to be. Gets to the right spot. Catches the ball. So, yeah, speed is a luxury. It's a great thing to have. Having a good football player is more important. To me.
No, I totally agree.
That's the way I see it.
I totally agree. The offensive, complementing the speed is the one thing that I think we started to realize, okay, we get it. You've got some guys, and a lot of the guys that maybe had some of your best raw numbers weren't getting on the field because either A, they didn't fully grasp the offense, they weren't reliable under the coach's eyes, but also you didn't maximize that because you're getting blown off the line of scrimmage. So you're not able to allow that speed to develop in the concepts that you want it to. I'm not saying that it's going to happen this time around, but you think of the Baylor teams that Matt Rule was the head coach for. They had elite speed.
Blazing fast.
They also had some power, though.
But exactly.
They were maulers on defense.
You complement that with physical play. And that could not be more important than it is for Matt Rule in the Big Ten. But understanding that, I think, is half the battle. Understanding that the things you're familiar with and what you, and again, what I'm talking about there is Matt Rule being familiar with offensive line play, but also understanding how the physical game and the speed game complement each other on how truly explosive that can be. That travels. Like, to me, that's not just that works in the Big 12. Like, if you're physical at the line of scrimmage,
that works anywhere.
Exactly. You're physical at the line of scrimmage. You've got guys that can withstand the trenches and the types of defensive play you're going to see in the Big Ten. Tell me how that's not going to allow the entire offense to evolve. And if you do concentrate more on, whether we're talking running backs or wide receivers, the elements of having fast, athletic dudes that are going to be handling the football, great. I mean, again, I go back to the elite offenses in the Big Ten. Even their identity, like Michigan would say, okay, yeah, but they're more traditional, more pro style. Okay, but does that mean they don't have home run hitters? They've got quite a few. But the reason you see that so much is because of what they're able to do at the line of scrimmage. Nebraska and Matt Rule having a true understanding of that, it could really go a long way. I'm not going to say it will, because how the hell would I be able to do that at this point with Nebraska football?
Yeah.
None of us can say it will. But understanding that and trying to build from the line of scrimmage, building inside out, basically, starting there and then working your way out. If I were asked, how do you think you should go about this? That's where I would start too. That's exactly where I would start too,
Sure.
because the amount of things you can do offensively or want to do offensively are for naught if you don't have that up front.
I think the question that we need answered is, can you win in the Big Ten with unpolished raw talent? Right? And I think there are two answers. If you have, as you said, the good offensive line play, yes, absolutely, you can win, because it's great to get the ball in the hands of your tailback who runs a 4.3, right? It's great. But if he gets tackled in the backfield before he ever gets to full speed, 4.3 speed is useless.
Yeah.
Which is what happened too often in the early years with Scott Frost. They had a bunch of guys who were real fast and they were getting them the ball, but there wasn't space. They were getting the ball going the wrong direction, right? So, no, if you don't have the complementary pieces, your unpolished raw talent with all the measurables in the world isn't going to mean anything. You have to have this. This is why I was so critical of Frost and his staff. They tried to go with an all measurables team, right?
Yeah.
They had we need offensive linemen. The tackles have to be 6'7", and their arm length has to be this long.
How did Big Ten coaches refer to them as? The all bus team.
Absolutely,
because as soon as they came off the bus, you're like, damn.
Yeah, they looked great. Yep. You had the right arm length. You had NFL size. But it never materialized into good football because they weren't good football players, right? They had all the measurements, but they didn't play football the way you needed them
There's
to.
that lack of development. And this is the kind of the interesting thing too. If you took the exact type of guy, because I agree with you, by the way, and I think there are Big Ten coaches that would agree with you. That's why they sort of labeled, or at least a handful that were anonymously interviewed, referred to Nebraska as the all bus team. If you took the same type of guy, put in the Matt Rule system, what would we see? Because the common denominator there of why you didn't maximize your potential is lack of development. And that's not to say, and this is nothing against Travis Fisher, this is nothing against Brian Applewhite or even Ryan Held when he was there, or Greg Austin, or Raiola, who's now still there, that they didn't develop, a guy here and there. Like Greg Austin, I think one of the great wins for that coaching staff was Greg Austin and what he was able to do with getting a tight end in Cam Jurgens over to center, and turns out to be a second-round draft pick. Like, that's not easy to do. There were wins along the way, but not collectively, not consistent enough that I'm not saying it would be totally different, but if you took a lot of guys that have sort of that that very solid initial canvas where you could really develop and mold them into the type of player you need them to be in the Big Ten to be successful. Just given the emphasis of development that Matt Rule has with his track record, would you see a different result? I'd definitely be interested. I don't think you'd see. I don't think you'd see a worse one.
I think another problem with Nebraska in the past handful of years is they took a lot of those guys who were raw and unpolished, who needed to be developed, but Nebraska wasn't in a position where they could afford to develop them. They had to play them right away.
You didn't have the luxury of time anymore.
You couldn't leave them on the sideline. So they were asking them to do things that they were not ready to do from a development perspective. And in a lot of instances, they failed. They didn't produce what they needed to produce.
Yeah.
And so they either left the program, got buried on the bench because they didn't have confidence, or the coaching staff lost confidence in them because they weren't doing what they needed them to do and the wins weren't coming. So it became almost this cycle of, okay, well, we got this guy and he can't do what we need him to do. We got to get somebody else in there. And the guy we got, okay, he's raw. Let's hope that he can figure it out on the fly, and he can't figure it out on the fly. So now we got to take another guy who's unpolished. And it became a cycle of players who were not the player that you needed. And because you didn't have the player you needed, you couldn't develop the ones behind them.
Yeah. We'll see. And it all began on Monday as far as conditioning and whatnot workouts. I don't think many people really care about the development right now as far as wanting to know. Obviously, internally they do, but what will it all amount to? And we kind of begin that process right now. We will have Ask Us Anything. Also want to go to the divisional round. We're going to talk to Brian Edwards of Major Wager and give some of his weekend outlook when it comes to the divisional round and the games that he is taking. But if there is an upset, probably I doubt anybody in this room is going with Jags Chiefs. But if there is an upset, most likely upset this weekend in the divisional round, we'll do that and more.
Chiefs are going to win by 20 plus.
Well, they're favored by 9.
Yeah, they're going to cover that easy.
Yeah, we'll get into that. Also, again, Brian Edwards, Major Wager, before we get out of here as we continue. Mornings at Sharp and Handley, 1620 The Zone.
Gary Sharp, Nick Handley, and Jimmy Chavez. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Weekdays 6 to 10. On 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Mornings on 1620 The Zone is brought to you by MD West One Orthopedics, Neurosurgery, and Spine. Previously on The Crossover.
Why is Chad on? Where is One Shining Moment? I don't watch this piece of crap. It just went to Chad.
They might have snuck in some Chad before One Shining Moment.
I think they did. And I was enraged because I'm waiting for One Shining Moment, and yet I'm exposed to Chad.
Mornings on 1620 The Zone, The Connor Happer Show. Unsportsmanlike conduct. 6A to 6P, 1620 The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast from the Godfather's Pizza Weather Center and KETV Newswatch 7 on 1620 The Zone.
Still a chance for a few flurries and brief light snow showers early Thursday. Otherwise, expect cloudy, breezy, and cool conditions with northwest winds gusting 20 to 30 miles per hour, highs around 30. I'm meteorologist Sean Everson from KETV Newswatch 7.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley, brought to you by MD West One Orthopedics, Neurosurgery, and Spine on 1620 The Zone.
The Creighton Blue Jays return home Wednesday night for the first matchup this season with St. John's. Pre-game coverage begins with Robbie Lula at 6 p.m. Tip-off is at 8. The Blue Jays Wednesday night on 1620 The Zone and 1019 The Keg.
Coming back from a serious injury is a win that requires teamwork. At Berry Law, we're in it to win it.
Call Berry Law today. 402-999-7777.
Mr. Clean, Mr. Clean.
Of course I use Mr. Clean Magic Eraser to clean tough messes off my stovetop and bathtub. But then I discovered I can also use it to easily clean my patio furniture and even my shoes. I'm hooked.
And when wipes won't cut it, I use Magic Eraser Sheets. They're thin and flexible erasers, perfect for everyday messes, like gunk on my counters and sinks. They really are magical.
The reviews are in. Mr. Clean Magic Eraser and sheets make cleaning look easy.
Don't miss this week's Zone Deal.
This week's half-off deal is $50 worth of vouchers to Le Voltaire French Restaurant for only $25. Le Voltaire Pepperwood Village is a locally owned, unpretentious French restaurant serving down-home cooking with an extensive wine list and great handcrafted cocktails for decades. Whether dining with friends, clients, or that special someone, Le Voltaire will make you feel right at home.
Zone Deals go fast. 9 a.m. Friday, 1620thezone.com.
1620 The Zone will be on location Friday, January 27th at the American Cancer Society's Hope Lodge, Nebraska. Stop by and drop off a donation of paper products, gift cards, or cash. Listen to 1620 The Zone and visit cancer.org/pinkout.
Mavs and the Jacks. Enough said. The rivalry in the Summit League between Omaha and South Dakota State continues tonight on News Talk 1290 Coil. 6:30 pregame. Tip-off is 7 o'clock at Frost Arena as Omaha tries to move up not only on Interstate 29, but in the standings. We'll talk to you tonight on News Talk 1290 Coil.
Did you know that radon is the #1 cause of lung cancer for non-smokers and that our region has some of the highest levels in the country? Radon Defense Midwest can test and fix your home. Visit radonradio.com for an exclusive offer for 1620 The Zone listeners. That's radonradio.com.
And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
Sometimes, Jimmy, sometimes I can usually follow you when it comes to
Didn't see this one coming.
the theme or the angle you're going with each return music selection. This one, I got to say, Amy Grant, Baby Baby.
As you sliding off the road into a snowbank.
Yeah. I'm curious. Was this just a random poll, or is there a theme behind this?
First of all, I guess I should explain. A lot of times it's just random crap tying back to our earlier theme of the show that comes in my head. And this one I happened to see on the Twitter last night.
The Twitter?
Yeah, the Twitter. The www.twitter.com. That this song was released as a single 32 years ago yesterday.
Oh, okay.
And going down a YouTube rabbit hole, I live a really exciting life.
It's either doing that or just taking a nap.
Now, I should also tie in it again, local. This is what happens when you watch the first half of that Nebraska-Ohio State game last night.
But you started researching Amy Grant?
Yep. Infinitely more exciting. This song was featured in a Monday Night Football opening in 1993 between the Vikings and your Bears at Soldier Field. Well, that year, they must have not come to an agreement with Hank Williams. So for 1 year, they tried something different.
I remember that.
They tried different openings for every game where they had, say, an artist do a show. So they had the Temptations one night. When they had the Cowboys on one night, of course, they did Toby Keith thing, should have been a cowboy. And so they had, and then the last game of the season was End of the Road by Boys to Men. Well done by ABC. But yeah, they had 18 weeks that year, 18 different artists doing a Monday Night Football opening. It failed miserably, and the next year, old Hank was back for a Super Bowl season, as he sang in the song on ABC.
So Amy
met
Grant,
Hank's demands next year.
So she did a baby.
They needed time to pass from Hank's behavior.
It gets better, yeah. In the opening, she has babies, humans that is, that are sitting with her as she sings it, and she said something like "Baby, baby, the Vikings and the Bears" or something. And commotion.
So it was baby, baby, but it was like detailed into the matchup.
Yeah.
There was alternative lyrics.
Yeah.
Were they all wearing like Bears and Vikings onesies?
Yeah. Something like that.
I don't know if this will be an unpopular opinion.
That's adorable.
But I've long held it. I hate the opening song for primetime football.
Oh, for
whether
the Amazon Prime one?
Whether it's Carrie Underwood.
Oh, that one.
Whether the Hank Williams one. I just think it's so corny and lame. Like
they all are. Hey, I
haven't been waiting all day for Sunday night. Sunday night is what comes after Sunday.
Exactly.
Sunday.
I'm dreading Sunday night.
Sunday night means
most grown-ups are.
Yeah, it's the Sunday scaries.
And
you're doing like it's over.
Pseudo rap country song.
Especially for us who have to get up a lot earlier.
Yeah,
it's awful. It's so cringeworthy.
Waiting all day to stay up and watch this game, knowing I have to get up in a matter of like 5 hours after it reaches its
And
conclusion.
we shoehorn football specific lyrics in to meet the mat. Oh, it's so bad.
Why? I've never understood this. Why'd they get away from Faith? I liked Faith.
Do we remember who did the first season? There's a trivia question.
Pink.
Yeah.
There-
One
was Pink.
season. 06.
It doesn't matter, man. It's
very Joan Jett-esque. So they kept the song, but they changed the female artists.
But I'm with John.
I hate it.
We're of a certain age. I remember the Pots and Pans intro on CBS, followed by a Pat Summerall intro or a Vern Lundquist intro.
The Pots and Pans?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Pat Summerall. And it's a touchdown.
Yeah, Pat Summerall.
Aikman.
I
Irvin.
was glad those two got to get together in the movie Replacements, too.
I thought you were going to say in the afterlife.
Oh,
Jesus, Jimmy. I wasn't going to go there. My
goodness.
I mean, why wouldn't they get together, though, there?
If you're playing the game of, which I don't know why you would, but with that song and that little nugget of information of Amy Grant.
That's the Pots and Pans.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
86 to about 89.
Good afternoon.
Soldier Field on a cold, windy day.
John, what do you think about this one? Amy Grant, by the way, 62. I'm sure people were like, oh, Amy Grant, 62.
Older than Carson Daly.
Yeah, we
found
checked
out.
Carson Daly's age earlier.
Yep.
Very surprised to find him at 49.
Did you say
I thought he was like
60? You thought
60.
he was 70.
No, I said
At
60.
first
Come on.
You said,
no,
did you say
I
60?
said 60.
Okay, I thought you were like, he's
I
gonna be
was
close
only
to
off by
70.
11 years.
I know the guy's put on a little bit of weight, but come on, man.
Hey,
I was just thinking
70?
like
he lived his best life back in the day.
Look, he was on MTV when he was 25.
Yeah.
I thought he had to be older than that to get on the network, right?
Yeah, the
And I
last
was
time,
thinking
like I
about
told you,
my age at the time.
last time I saw him was in the docu-series. Well, he's not actually interviewed. You just see clips of him at the Woodstock, 1999. He was a young boy. He was.
Firefest before Firefest.
It was. At least the acts actually happened.
Facts.
Yeah. And hey, they didn't try to advertise it's going to be a luxury event. They probably didn't advertise that you're going to be swimming in poop water.
No.
God, why is today just
It all comes back
It keeps coming back to
every
toilet humor.
time.
There's your emoji.
There's some sick stuff from that train wreck 3-part docuseries. Like when it shows people like they think they're like having fun in mud,
Oh, the
not
mud
realizing
people,
that it's
yeah.
like toilet
Doesn't
water
mud.
and not it's not mud.
Fun.
It doesn't. Hey, Chucko, that doesn't smell like mud.
Smell like I was just going there.
You're not Dewey Oxberger, my friend.
Real quickly, because I want to get to Brian Edwards and get his actual expert thoughts on the weekend divisional round. If you guys have an upset, most likely to be upset this weekend.
Jimmy's going to like this. I think it's the 49ers because the Brock Purdy experience has to come to intermission at some point, right? Like somebody's going to figure it out. I think he's
Dan
on.
Quinn would be a good candidate for that.
The
I
Big 12
think
did.
He's on the notes, the no
K-State
tape.
did.
He's
Mike
on the
Gundy
no
did.
tape train right now.
Yeah.
Which is what
Yeah, true.
happens, I think, with a lot of backup quarterbacks in the NFL. They come in, nobody knows what to expect from them. Their patterns of where they like to attack defenses haven't been quite figured out yet. So nobody knows how to quite defend them. And then you see that guy, oh, he's pretty good. Some team's going to go after him. Scott Mitchell, right? Detroit Lions.
Did you just Scott Mitchell?
Scott Mitchell,
Oh,
the lefty.
Man, this
That's
what a
that's the
show.
lefty.
Matt Flynn, right?
Watching him chuck the football in the Silver Dome.
Yep.
Hit strong left arm.
They come in for a
Scott
few
Mitchell.
games. There's no tape on them. Nobody knows how to defend them. They look great. Then they go and become the starter, and they are not good.
Yeah.
Because they're a backup quarterbacks, right? I think that's where Purdy is right now. Not saying that he might turn out to be okay, but right now there's not a lot of tape on him, so nobody quite knows how to defend him just yet. But we're starting to stack some games that he's played in now. There's a resume there. There's a record of where he likes to go with the football. So it's got to come to an end, and I think it's this weekend.
I like that one. I'm going to go a different area, but I'm going to stay in the NFC, and I'm going to say the Giants.
Giants are going to upset the Eagles?
I think it could happen, yeah.
Really?
I'm not calling my shot saying it will happen, but most likely, in my opinion, Giants.
See,
I'll call my shot and say that, yes, the Giants are going to beat the Eagles.
I think in order, it's of most likely to be upset: 49ers, Bills, Eagles, Chiefs.
Bills, The only thing that is keeping me off the Bills one this weekend is that the Bengals lose yet again another offensive lineman. Like Joe Burrow, look, I get it. He can win games when he's sacked 9 times, but at some point,
you're not going to win.
Exactly. You're gonna get to a point where you need some healthy offensive linemen. And for Joe Burrow, God bless him, the kid just gets up, keeps chucking it, keeps winning. He's that dude. But yeah, and the Bills' defense has not been great. But I think this is an opportunity for the Bills' defense to get some confidence.
I think it's clearly the 49ers. In my book, I think it's 49ers easily number one, most likely to be upset.
So let me keep score here. Nick, John, Scott Shanley, Gary Sharp, and Josh Peterson have got me all feeling optimistic. You've set me up.
Sorry about that.
To get a nice old kick in the nuts on Sunday night.
Yep.
And just to come in basically like Charlie Brown walking home with the cloud just over him to work on Monday morning.
Look, I'm not saying I hate saying that the Cowboys are going to win anything.
Fair.
I'm a Washington fan. So
all
to say that the Cowboys are going to win anything hurts me. But
you got to be real.
You have to take emotion out of it.
You guys are making me believe.
There's a time I take the Packers against every fiber in my body, but I do because it's like, you got to respect the game, man.
And
Respect the
tying
player.
things back to what John said, when Amy Grant had that Monday Night Football intro, Scott Mitchell was backing up Dan Marino and pressed into service when Dan, fresh off his Ace Ventura should have been Oscar-winning performance, when Dan Marino tore his Achilles in Cleveland. And so that's how Scott Mitchell became a dude and ended up in Detroit the next year.
Dan was pitching isotoners. All right.
Good gloves.
They are. I think we all, either our father or someone in our family had them at one point.
My father did.
Good. He should. Everyone, I think, should own a
in
pair
San
of
Antonio, where
isotoners.
you use gloves maybe one day a year.
I feel like you can still get isotoners
It's a
as well.
popular Mother's Day gift. Isotoner gloves.
Isotoners. All right. Coming back with Brian Edwards, going to get his thoughts on the playoff weekend and more from Major Wager. Brian joins us as we wrap things up here. It's Mornings Sharp and Handley, 1620 The Zone.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com with Gary Sharp and Nick Handley. Remember, no matter how you listen, it's still AM radio. 1620 The Zone. It's time to win Gary's Booty. Be caller 4 right now at 402-951-1620. That's caller 4 at 402-951-1620. Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Hi, this is Doug Nodgard with Equitable Bank. Great service never goes out of style. When the digital age dawned, many said computers would be able to handle many of the interactions that used to take a person. Boy, were they wrong. How many times have you called your bank and gotten a recording to press 1 or 2? Not at Equitable. Not only does Equitable answer your call in the first ring, it's answered by a human being. That's because Equitable Bank values its customers. Equitable Bank, we take banking personally. Member FDIC.
You've got options when you shop pre-owned with Woodhouse. Over 1,000 cars, trucks, and SUVs inspected and road ready, with a team ready to tackle all your needs and wants to get you the perfect vehicle. Plus, with financing options and extended warranty coverage options, Woodhouse makes purchasing your next vehicle an easy one-stop shop in dealership or online, bringing you more every time since 1975. Shop Woodhouse.
Let me get you up to speed on the service that you need.
Katie was recently told by a competitor that her transmission needed to be replaced. She thought the cost seemed a little too high, so she called us. We towed it from that shop and verified the transmission was in fact bad. We did the job and saved her over $1,500. Sometimes a second opinion can save you a lot of money. Don't overpay. Call Omaha Transmission.
Omaha Transmission, shifting to running smooth.
Hey, it's Apper for the FanDuel Sportsbook, and NFL Divisional Round is here, and it's time for you guys to get involved. If you haven't done so yet, join today. You could bet the Divisional Round with $150 in free bets guaranteed. All you have to do is place your first $5 bet using the promo code HAPPER. 4 games in the Divisional Round this weekend. Last weekend, I was all over the anytime touchdown props. They are perfect for a same-game parlay over all of the games. First touchdown scorers as well. Endless options for the weekend full of football in the NFL. That's why FanDuel Sportsbook America's #1 sportsbook, has all your favorite bets from moneyline, point spreads, player props, and anything in between. Plus, with FanDuel, you can combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with the same game parlay on an app that's safe, secure, and easy to use. So now's the time. Don't miss out. Place your first $5 bet to get $150 in free bets, win or lose, with the promo code HAPPER. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. 21 and over, present in Iowa. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable free bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
Here's this week's Maverick Minute. The Omaha Mavericks erupted for 4 goals in the final minutes of Saturday's series finale with Minnesota Duluth to secure a weekend sweep of the Bulldogs. The Mavs will close out their current 6-game homestand next weekend when they welcome the Miami Redhawks to Baxter Arena Friday and Saturday night. And that's your Maverick Minute on your home for the Mavs. News Talk 1290, 1180 The Zone, and 1620 The Zone.
I always wanted to learn Spanish, but I never thought I'd have the time. Then I discovered Babbel.
Babbel's lessons are fun. They only take like 10 or 15 minutes, and in 3 weeks, presto, you're starting to speak another language. Like magic.
I love that Babbel's lessons aren't just robots talking. They're voiced by native speakers, so you get the pronunciation just right. And they're designed by real language teachers, so you learn how to have real-world conversations, things you'll actually use.
It's incredible. After using Babbel, I'm ready to start having real conversations in French.
There's all kinds of ways to learn. Use Babbel's podcasts or games or videos. You can even join live classes with a language teacher.
If you want to learn a language, there's no faster, easier, better way than
Babbel.
Babbel.
Babbel. Babbel. Évidemment.
Go to Babbel.com to try for free. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
Life doesn't stop when cancer starts. After a diagnosis, treatment is vital. But for some, just getting there, to appointments, chemo, or radiation, is a major challenge. You can change that. Volunteer to give rides with the American Cancer Society Road to Recovery program. A few hours of your day could make a life-saving difference for someone with cancer. Visit cancer.org/drive to learn more. That's cancer.org/drive.
It's the lowest month-to-month rate of the year with no contract and no enrollment fees at Genesis Health Clubs. It won't get any lower than this, and enrollment fees are waived to celebrate 2023. This offer has been extended for a limited time. Hi, I'm Rodney Stephen. It's the new year, and you have set your New Year's resolutions, right? Well, it's time to go. I have good news and bad news for you. The bad news is, if you don't get started, your New Year's resolutions won't happen, and you'll be in the same place next year. You have to take that first step and build habits that will change your life forever. One of my favorite quotes is, if it is to be, it is up to me. And that is absolutely true. And we know you can do it. We'll help you every step of the way. We help hundreds of thousands of people reach their fitness goals each year. And what about you this year? Join Genesis Health Clubs for our lowest month-to-month rate that we'll offer in all of 2023. Plus, no enrollment fees and no contracts. Offer extended. Act now. It will not get any better than this. Join at GenesisHealthClubs.com now, because this special won't last. This offer has been extended for a limited time.
And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
Going to get to Brian Edwards here in just one moment, but some breaking news in the NFL because, you know, it was all Byron Leftwich's fault as to why the Bucs didn't play well. Byron Leftwich gets fired from the Bucs. No word on Todd Bowles, though. Wow. Wow. All right. As we, with that, we welcome in Brian Edwards, MajorWager.com. Brian, what's up, man? How are you?
Doing great, gentlemen. What's happening?
That news was interesting. I mean, did you have any good odds on the Byron Leftwich job security? Anybody getting any action on that?
Well, I don't necessarily disagree with his dismissal, but I would have rather, if I'm a Bucs fan, have the head coach Bowles out for him. But I don't know that either one of them should keep their jobs after this year.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So we were just talking about, as the layman, people that are teams that we thought would be most likely to be upset this weekend. And I don't know. I'm kind of looking at I like the Giants. I'm not trying to get too wrapped up into what they've been doing and, not knowing what the Eagles look like from a health standpoint. But I know another one is some people are kind of impressed with what they saw from Dallas. So if you look at that one in particular, the Niners in Dallas in that divisional one, what direction are you leaning here?
I'm going with the 49ers. They're my favorite pick of the weekend. I don't know that it's being discussed as much as it, important is, and that's that, Dallas, didn't leave Tampa until, technically early Tuesday morning, after midnight, late Monday. And, San Fran's been chilling since Saturday afternoon Pacific time. So they've got 2 extra days of rest and preparation. They've won 11 in a row. They're just absolutely, I know the competition level has not been that great toward the late end of the schedule, but they're just smashing teams. I mean, with the exception of the, Raider game, it's, and the Commanders were pretty tight with them for a while, but pretty much been all blowouts. And I'm not saying it's going to be a blowout, but I think minus 3.5 or 4 is an absolute gift with the 49ers.
All right, so we know that the Bengals offensive line is a mash unit, walking wounded there. They get Buffalo. Joe Burrow, he's got that playoff magic, but is it enough? Where are you leaning here?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Bengals. It's obviously extremely concerning with the O-line situation with 3 starters down. But, they had a horrible offensive line last year, and we're near midfield in a 1-possession game to potentially go win the Super Bowl. So what I think is more concerning is the play of Josh Allen, and he's just been a turnover machine lately. And if Jalen Waddle doesn't play the worst game of his career, high school, college, and pro, I would imagine, with all those drops last week, Buffalo's on vacation and the Dolphins are still alive. I got to go with the Bengals. Only 3rd time they're an underdog this year, 2-0 against the spread. The first couple of times, the Bengals, they have played. Looking for it here, am I right up here? Yeah, they've played 7 games against teams in the playoffs this year. They're 5-2 straight up. The only loss is at Dallas by 3, at Baltimore by 2. Buffalo has played only 6 games against teams that made the playoffs this year. They are 4-2. But the 4 wins are by 4 points or fewer, which is obviously relevant with the 5.5 point spread. So I like the Bengals. Yes, I'm concerned about the O-line, but I'm still on them, and I still think they win outright.
Talking to Brian Edwards here, MajorWagers.com. Hey, going back to that Giants-Eagles matchup, it's a thin line. Right now, I think what we're seeing today is anywhere between a touchdown and a half, considering you've got the number one seed in the NFC. So how are you looking to kind of go at this one with the Giants and Eagles?
Yeah, I think the lines are very good for both Saturday games. I think they're correctly lined at 8.5 and 7.5. I mean, maybe there's a book or two that's off by a half point, but yeah, I don't do a ton of teasers, but when I do them, it's usually NFL home favorites, anywhere between 6 to 8.5 point favorites. And I think Kansas City and Philadelphia are perfect tease teams this week, bumping them down to only have to win by a field goal. In the case of Philadelphia, minus 1.5, they only need to win by 2, and Kansas City minus 2.5 need to win by 3. So I'm just going to go teaser with the 2 home favorites on Saturday. I'll throw in a couple of player props I like in those games. I like Travis Kelce to go over 79.5 receiving yards. And then I also like A.J. Brown to go over 71.5 receiving yards. He had 1,496 receiving yards on the season, and he in the last 4 games he's had 95, 97, 103, and 181. So A.J. Brown over 71.5 and Kelce over 79.5 receiving yards.
All right, for anybody looking to get out of the NFL, maybe look at some NBA. You got a game you like? Somebody wants to put some action on NBA.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Celtics tonight, minus 6 at last look to Golden State. Jaylen Brown's questionable, but I like it anyway. And if he gets upgraded, I love it. Celtics have won 7 in a row, last 4 wins coming by 11 or more. 5 of those 7 by at least 11, and 6 of those 7 wins by 8 or more. And Golden State abysmal 5-17 straight up, 5-16-1 against the spread in 22 road games. So I'm on the Celtics tonight.
It's Brian Edwards again. You follow on Twitter at VegasBEdwards, Vegas Insider, and MajorWager.com is where you can find the very latest. Brian, awesome stuff. Good luck this weekend. We'll talk to you soon, my man.
Thanks, fellas. Have a great weekend.
You as well. All right, we are getting ready for the crossover. Did we get a booty update?
Well, yes, we have a booty winner.
Okay,
somebody grabbed the booty.
Yeah,
got a $200 booty grab.
Yeah, and I forgot his name. I put
he knows who he is.
He knows who he is.
He's $200 richer,
representing the great community of Bennington.
All right,
so
that's my neck of the woods.
Congratulations
go Badges
to him. Jason, that was his name.
Jason
still is his name.
All right.
A couple little things of house cleaning here. We forgot to get to Ask Us Anything. We'll try and get to that tomorrow. And once again, congratulations to Connor Happer, the winner of the great 2023 Snow Prediction Contest. Still officially looking for confirmation here, but I believe it is still 2 inches at Epley. So Connor is our winner at 3.8. Everybody else guessed, wrong, thankfully, and it is something that we are all happy to be wrong on.
I believe that the snow has stopped too, so that is good. So
the waters have receded.
Yes, that is good. All right, tomorrow Gary will be back with us. He will be joining us from, I believe, a hotel, maybe a bus. Who knows? But don't forget Maverick men's basketball in action tonight on Coil. You've got Maverick women's basketball in action on Zone 2. No, it's not 2. Sorry, 1180.
It's just 1180 the Zone.
1180 with this man right here, John Schreiner.
6:45 pregame, 7:05 will be the tip-off for the Mavericks and the Jackrabbits.
All right, John. Sleep in tomorrow, okay?
No.
No?
I take my kid to school in the morning.
At 4?
At 6.
Tailgating. Get ready for the day.
Yeah, okay. Get ready for a big weekend. All right, the Connor Happer Show with Josh Hodson. Coming up next, we will cross over with the boys. For Jimmy and John, I'm Nick.